Yeah, I'm about to right now. GG, I gotta set up my shit though. You know, gotta set up. Nah, zombies. Why you? What you hopping on? Multiplayer? What them niggas playing then? What this nigga playing? He's playing with you? He's playing. Um, Standing in a puddle of blood and I see myself. Oh, standing in a puddle that got mine. I don't see. What more? I don't know. Bro, if you don't shut the fuck up, if you don't shut the fuck up. Standing in a puddle of blood and I gotta hop on that, the dollar. I would have been sliding on the dollar, you know what I'm saying? Hop on that song, the dollar. Want the feature. We gonna do a whole mixtape together. Me and Mo's gonna do a whole mixtape together, you know? Like shit. Whole mixtape, yeah. You just got network, bro. You take to the dream, I'm taking the dream, bro. Network, the dollar. Got network, the guys. We'll be doing the same shit, you know what I'm saying? That shit is fire. That shit fire though. That shit actually fire. How to find niggas with talent, you know what I'm saying? Better not mediocre shit. What's up with this nigga Sid? Why is he just ignoring everybody? Dada? Said he's a selfish little bitch.
Let me ask you this. Did you stop carrying a gun when you decided to start pushing peace?
Put it like this, bro.
Because all of our early interactions, you were big sticked up.
You believe that was a real whoop? You never seen me with a gun, so why would you even get on this platform lying?
I've seen you with blocks, with switches and extended clips.
When, bro?
Here.
You never.
Remember when the security went like
You
that?
never seen that with your own eyes.
Yeah.
Adam, that's cap.
I've seen it poking out.
That's cap.
Either you got a boner or you got an extended clip.
So you never seen the gun? Would you be?
I seen the crouton on that bitch.
But would you be real to the
How you gonna call anything gay? Got it.
She already confirmed it. I just interviewed her. She's not gay. She like this.
Okay.
Let's start there. So why would you?
No. I like dick like you like dick. Meaning I don't.
Hold on. He else shit, bro. He else shit. What just happened?
We bonded. We both love cock.
So, but you didn't have sex with the man with the thumb?
No. But you never know. Yeah, what?
Okay.
I don't have sex with that man.
Come on, bro.
I promise you.
Why is all these interviews turn out heterosexual ass interviews?
What Chicago rapper do you think is most likely to be gay? Secretly.
Chicago rapper that turned out to be gay.
I can think of one who's actually gay. I don't know that name.
Who you saying? See, that's
Too easy.
Yeah, yes.
No, he's like openly out.
Openly?
Chance's brother.
Oh, okay.
He don't count.
Okay.
I'm talking about in the closet.
I just was trying to sneak this. Oh,
No. Ooh.
play sneak this. Yeah, that's what I be trying to figure out. Every time I know jumper.
Alright, fine.
The conversation
Moratorium on gay shit. No gay shit for the rest of the conversation.
Can we agree? Can y'all shake hands on that?
How about just a fist bump?
Okay. Can y'all
Power
fist
Rangers,
bump?
right?
Can y'all fist bump?
Power me up with a new gay lady. He's not on board. He ain't pushing peace.
But you
I'm pushing my piece. He out here with the jerkins.
Alright, here's some more shit.
Let's let me know.
So, we seen you on O Block. You was pushing peace on O Block, and then things went left when E-Dog started talking. This was your second time on O Block, because the first time you had Tay Savage with you. So break down the first time versus the second time.
The first time I went to O Block, bro, it was a real good experience, bro. The old Blockians came out on Fulham Gray, and greeted J Main on Fulham Gray. It was Happy O Blockians at the time on Fulham Gray, so it was a good experience for the work to see J Main at the O Block. I was walked in by DQ, so it is different. Shout out DQ, shout out DQ. People in it different when DQ walked in, so it was all good on Fulham Gray. So long story short, I get to the gates, I'm feeling great, do your homework on. When I jumped on the plane to the right that time, do your homework on me having Cliff. Do your homework on Cliff. You need your ID all the time, so I made it through Cliff. Ding ding, no ID. I'm pulling the gates of O Block, I'm pulling the grade.
You're saying clear like in the airport?
They
Do
scanning
your
shit.
homework on Cliff.
They have that at O Block.
Nah, they ain't got clear O Block. Do your homework.
That's a funny idea though.
Nah, do your homework on.
They got
clear O Block.
TSA at O Block. Search you on the way in. That makes
No, they
sense.
do got some TSA shit on.
Really?
They don't have Cliff. Yeah.
See, last time I went, it was just regular little shit. Just walk your ass in there.
Oh no, I don't
Okay.
know. What year you went? 2000 and what?
2001, probably.
Hell
No, 2021, sorry.
no.
2021.
Yeah.
It's about like
Okay.
Okay, so
Kids home. I'm gonna snatch that chain and sell it, and it should be good.
put it like this, bro. It's a hood couple, bro. We are.
That's why I'm gonna be posted up.
So let's break this shit down.
Let's break it down. E-Dog was mad because you trashed him on the DJ you interview.
put it like this. That was back in when I was trolling, right?
This is like right before you really went full push and piece, right?
So let's just start there. So that was an old ass whoop anyway.
And in the whoop, you said you ran into E-Dog in the barbershop. That's what it was about.
And that was an old ass whoop. Do I gotta break that shit down?
No, we watched it the other day.
So it hit different. So it just hit different when I'm at O Block and I'm really on some real shit. And you whooping like this. Cause at the same time, I'm over here for, put it like this. The shit that I'm pushing for, like I remind people, bro, I'm pushing for the trenches in LA. I'm pushing for the trenches in Detroit. I'm pushing for the trenches in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
I'm pushing for the trenches, bro. It hit different when you pushing for the trenches in Houston. Let's start there. So, J-Man, why is you recording these whoops? Because day by day, bro, they gotta see the process. They gotta see the journey, bro. This is what's really going on in the trenches, bro. This is step by step. They're really trying to change the narrative. And y'all seeing it. Y'all seeing it. That's why the world is watching it. Because Chicago impacts the world, bro. It hit different. So when y'all watching these J-Man whoops and J-Man and O-Block, it's like, damn, Shorty really risking his life because y'all know what's going with this shit. Stop playing. Could try to discredit whatever I got going on, bro, but at the end of the day, on For Them Gray, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And the proof in the pudding. At the end of the day, I could have lost my life. Any one of my partners who, as all fathers, could have lost their lives for the bigger picture, the bigger purpose, for what we was trying to push towards.
Yeah.
Which was for people to see, and the world to see us and O-Block whooping, so the kids could have, so the kids could be able to come outside, because we had kids over there looking like, oh, what's up? So now, when the kids is saying, hey, to the whoop man, they not gonna grow older looking at him as no op-ass nigga, and they gonna look at his kids like no op-ass nigga. They ain't gonna feel like they need to be getting revenge and feeling like they entitled or forced to do something or live by a certain code that they should never have to be forced to live by because these are children. So,
No, they only
when
think
you
that
know,
they're
a week
regardless.
like that, it was just
Totally
a smack in the face to me and bigger to the culture at the time. But I realize now that everybody don't understand and everybody don't think how I think. So, and E-Dog, man, I understand at the time he probably felt like he was doing what he was supposed to do. Because understand, we all lost a lot of people.
Okay, but in that moment, were you weighing the
You
pros and
interrupted me in
cons?
the middle of a Dr. Martin Luther King.
It was a
I
good sermon.
damn near about it.
But let me just ask you this. In that moment,
Real whoop.
was it in your head, were you weighing the pros and cons of like, should I stay here and argue and get past his issue with me? Or was it just already like kind of preordained in your head that like, if anybody comes at me with any kind of negative energy, I'm gonna just be out?
Yeah, for sure. So that part is almost pre-planned in my mind. If somebody do something negative while I'm here, I have to leave. I'm not only thinking for me, I'm thinking for myself and the men around me, and also the kids that's over there, and also all of them as well. Because, yeah, you probably thinking with emotion. I'm thinking with my mind. So I'm going off of, okay, I have to think for everybody out here because I know this Chicago, and 9 times out of 10, everybody got a whoop right here. Do I gotta go there? So if a whoop get let off, they gonna look like J-Man. You done brought the G's to the older over whoop. Either way it goes. You see what I'm saying? So now it's gonna look like some sloppy shit. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't have that on me, my conscience, none of that shit. You see what I'm saying? Because I know my intentions is for the right purpose. So I'm not finna come over here and try to entice y'all or make y'all feel no type of way in y'all hood because I'm really over here on some real shit. So if y'all really feel some type of way about me being over here doing some real shit, I'm gonna fall back for right now or whatever the case is. And that's all it was.
So, alright, so when you went the second time, who did you go over there with intentions on speaking for him? Who set that one up? Because E-Dog said that he felt like you should have reached out to some of the older guys that you had beef with. He said, Mana Ike and them, they younger, and he feel like you should have been more in touch with like the dudes of your generation, talking to them to have that conversation if you was really pushing peace You should have hollered at some of the older guys, and it would have been way more progressive than you hollering at his little homies.
So how the situation played out, bro, it was never for me to go around E-Dog and try to go to the little homie or whatever the case was. The whole thing was I set something up with Ike Munna to catch my drift. I put it like this. I didn't know I wasn't welcome. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. If I wasn't welcome, I wouldn't have came. You see what I'm saying? So the whole situation comes down to J-Man is an O-Block. I'm not here to go around E-Dog. I'm here to whoop with Ike Munna because he's the upcoming generation out of the O-Block. He's 20 years old. He probably trying to, J-Man is what I'm doing. I know Ike Munna, no disrespect. He probably don't look himself as a kid, but I'm got about 10 years, you see what I'm saying? So in my mind, I'm pushing for people like Ike Munna. That's my drift. So males in that age frame as well, you see what I'm saying? And younger as well, and a little older. Because I know what I'm doing is influencing the culture right now, you see what I'm saying? So it's not that I'm trying to go around him, but I want to put a little sauce on me. I'm trying to put some sauce through the hood. I'm doing it with everybody. It's not just O-Block I'm doing it with. I done sat down with Young Money. I done sat down with Welch World. I done sat down with all these different hoods, bro. I'm doing real whoops, bro. It hit different.
Let me get this straight. You think someone's hiding breakfast words in football games? They're not even hiding. The quarterback just scrambled around a pancake block.
Want to support me? Want to support me? Go to Nene Marie 37 on Instagram and purchase you a signed copy of my book. Yo! It's your boy Christian News, and I'm back at y'all with another one. Appreciate all the support. Thanks for everyone who subscribed to the channel. If you ain't sub to the channel, make sure you join the membership. Shout out to the mod squad. If you ain't follow my mods, you can follow Lady X at the end of this video. Remember, if you got anything extra, food, hygiene, clothes, bag it up, take it outside, and give it to the less fortunate. Remember, we all one step away from being homeless. I don't care how much money you say you got or think you got. You can lose it all and be homeless, man. So make sure you get back out there. Hey, with that being said, let's say the women, the children, the elderly, the neutrons, and the civilians. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope everybody ate safe and blessed. Remember, it's cold outside, snowing outside. So if you got any extra coats, scarf, gloves, hats, any of that, make sure you take it outside, bag it up, and give it to the less fortunate, man. God will bless you, man. It might not come when you want it to, but it'll come right on time. Hey, y'all, make sure y'all safe out there. Keep your head on the swivel. Make sure before you go outside, look at that bush. If it don't move for 15 minutes, man, then you good to go. But, man, make sure you watch out. They robbing people. They leaving people in alleys and everything. They dangerous, man. So make sure y'all watch out, man. There's a lot of killers and thieves out there. They don't care about nobody, man. So make sure y'all watch out for them. Hey, y'all, I got 2 stories on this Friday, man. I got to talk about Lil Reese. It's a video. Shout out to Chirac Rares. It's a video, man, with Lil Reese. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about Lil Durk being prepared for the feds, man, and the reasons why. Hey, I need y'all to smash that like button so this video can get around to the masses. I need y'all to whatever platform y'all got, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, whatever. Make sure y'all send it to that and smash that like button. Happy Friday again. Alright, so we're going to start off with Lil Reese. Now, Lil Reese got 5 years in the Texas Department of Corrections. His outdate, mandatory outdate is saying is 2029, but his eligible for parole outdate saying 2026 when he up for parole. That's roughly a year and a half, 2 years. But to a lot of people in Texas, they saying that Texas don't play with them type of things, man, and he could do the whole 29, man, if they feel like it, you know. Plus, I seen a lot of people on the TV shows that my wife be watching, and it's like doing a parole board, man, a whole bunch of old people, bro. They like 90 years old, white, and then they coming up, and they be like, the person that did all their time down there, we don't think he's ready, and then they send you back. So we seeing that. But Lil Reese done been through a whole bunch of stuff. And this ain't making no excuse for Reese. And all this ain't making no excuse for Reese. Don't condone none of that. I even caught one. You know what I'm talking about, one or two of them. You know, and I was harmed doing one, and I still got one. You know. So fellas, y'all be safe out there, man. Y'all make sure that, you know, you got a woman who, you know, y'all can talk it out, man. If you can't talk it out, man, it probably, you know, somebody need to just leave for the time being. But Lil Reese got choking his back in the club. She called the police, man. He got locked up for that. Now, it's a video that's out by Chirac Grill that shows the baby mama called the police. In fact, Lil Reese live in a nice house. He doing
So you went there for no reason?
But the judge let him go home with an ankle monitor on. Okay? So Lil Reese standing outside on the video, his girl standing at the door fidgeting. The police out there. Lil Reese is arguing with the police, you know what I'm talking about to catch another charge. I'm trying to figure out, like, why is Lil Reese arguing with these people? So as the tape goes, his girl called the police and said that she wanted to leave out our house, and that she needs the police so she can leave out our house. So the police come.
There's still time to gift Luke. Get 10% off when you shop now.
Send and receive your
I don't know you.
thanks.
You was at a birthday party?
Yeah.
It was fun?
Now on
Yeah.
Oh.
I told my
And they grabbed Lil Reese, ran his name. She say that I don't want him in jail. The protective order is over. I just want Charles to stay outside while I leave. You know.
We don't got no cousins.
And then Lil Reese is like, I ain't got no protective order. It's over with. The monitoring thing is over with. The monitoring is over with. You know.
And you was
And
having
he's
fun?
showing the police like he letting her go and get the paperwork.
When you saw happy
So a
birthday?
black officer come over there because he see him arguing with the guy. And he put him in the back of the police
Try,
car.
give me some.
Now, when you get in the back of the police car, everybody who been in there, you know it's game over. So the police
see.
talking to him, and you know, running his name and all that.
Let me see how it
And then
looks.
They found out that the protective order is still in. So now, the person who made the phone call, which was Lil Reese baby mama, now she arguing with the police about to go to jail, saying that she ain't going in jail. Why did you call the police anyway?
Man, you got mad candy in here. You're not eating
You need
this.
to leave out your house properly. Because
You can
of
put
him,
on toilets.
you know, you need to leave out your house. You don't feel safe. Bro, that's a domestic, man. That's a violation. They got to take you in. Say if Lil Reese did do something to her or something happened to her. Look, they gonna blame Lil Reese for something that happened to her. Somebody could have just snatched her out of A&M after that. And now Lil Reese, he the same suspect and he going to jail. You know, man, I just don't think it's a good idea, man, to be calling the police on every little situation.
Mama,
man.
you got one of these bags?
If the man ain't touch you, you could have freely walked out that crib.
Mama, you got one
Crib
of these
big enough
bags?
where you could have walked through the back door with Lil Reese.
I bet you-
Lil Reese ain't that strong anyway. We seen the dice choke him up, we seen the girl pour water on him and choke him up. Like we seen a lot of people, you know, give it to Lil Reese nowadays. He got shot in the neck, he injured, you know. But man, I just feel bad, man, that situation, bro. Like, she called the police, basically she was threatened. And then when the police get there, and she found out that Lil Reese about to go to jail due to her phone call, now she about to go to jail with Lil Reese. That's crazy work, man. Hey, Lil Reese, my wife, Lil Reese, and I'm gonna write Lil Reese a letter right here and now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And tell Lil Reese, man, hey, look, it's best to
You ain't wanna eat?
get you a girl, bro, that y'all just, you know what I'm talking about, friends and benefits. Whatever you wanna call it, you know. But I don't think it's proper that Lil Reese be in a
Alright, go.
relationship or anything, man. When you that big, you a rapper,
Go,
you
bring your
still
stuff
wanna
over
come
there,
in at
bring
8
your
o'clock in the
stuff.
morning. It's not a good look, man, for a person who's saying they love you and all that. And then I ain't blaming the girl. Cause the girl, she, you know what I'm talking about, she loves you, she taking care of kids and everything. And then you popping up at y'all house at 8 o'clock in the morning and shit like that every day. I know you're a rapper, I know you do it, and I know, you know, that's what she signed up for. But man, you gotta have some type of respect, man. You know what I'm talking about? You coming in with hickeys on, his videos, the girls in Texas talking. They done made pregnant by Lil Reese. You know, all the situations that go on. You know, we seen it happen with Dirk and Lala and all the shit with India. So, you know, y'all just be safe out there, man. If y'all can repair the relationship, repair. But if not, man, then walk away from each other. And that's what I got on Lil Reese, man. The video is on Chirac. Rare, his page, man, y'all wanna check it out. I can't put no videos on my page. You know, I only put my content on my page, but shout out to him, you know. And yeah, Lil Reese, man, he gotta learn, man. Like, he too old to be studying, going through all these old tricks. And then we got Lil Dirt. Lil Durk was prepared, man. Lil Durk was prepared, man.
No
Lil Durk
good.
got married, secretly married to India. You know, he cleaned his record. And then he got to doing the Ali Rafba head, and he got to doing the Islam thing hard. You know what I'm talking about? He knew they was coming, man. But I'll be back on live to talk to y'all about the new paperwork with Lil Durk as soon as I go live tonight, man. Y'all be safe out there. My man is my man.
Good afternoon, IT world. How you guys doing out there? I got a shave. Okay.
Diaper.
I'm on stage at the Dirt Show. Dreezy in there. On phone them. Chucky in there. On phone them Gray. It hit different than the bus. Let's start there. Fat Trail back there. It hit different.
Sexy Rose there, right?
Sexy Red. Dude.
Nice.
Do I gotta start with the big? It hit different. Shout out Sexy Red. She overwhooping right now. Sexy's in there.
Yeah.
She tried the whoops. I gave Sexy a box of whoops on phone them Gray. On phone them, I started to take off the whoop chain, let her put it between her wop, how she did the key whoop. But that's my shit. How you gotta put the gonorrhea on my shit too.
Instead of skipping this ad about the Maytag Pet Pro system, you're realizing you may look like your pet, but you don't want to wear your pet.
I'm on stage at the Dirt Show. Dreezy in there. On phone them. Chucky in there. On phone them Gray. It hit different than the bus. Let's start there. Fat Trail back there. It hit different.
Sexy Rose there, right?
Sexy Red. Do I gotta start with the big? It hit different. Shout out Sexy Red. She overwhooping right now. Sexy's in there.
Yeah.
She tried the whoops. I gave Sexy a box of whoops on phone them Gray. On phone them, I started to take off the whoop chain, let her put it between her wop, how she did the key whoop. But that's my shit. How you gotta put the gonorrhea on my shit too. No, she just came out with the gonorrhea lip gloss.
But she didn't want to wear it? She didn't want to wear it?
Nah, Sexy ain't, I ain't asked her to wear it. On phone them, I just gave her a box of whoops. On phone them, I was on some respect with you. It's my first time meeting. I ain't want to overwhoop on phone them. But you know I want to overwhoop with Sexy Red on phone them.
You didn't want to give her a foot rub like Vaughn did?
Huh?
Vaughn 1700 give her a foot rub.
Nah, I just want to touch on the big ass feet, but I ain't go down. It hit different. I ain't go down. It hit different.
That's fair.
It hit different. But put it like this, all bullshit aside, on for them grades. I'm at the Dirt Show, it's busting on for them grades. Do your homework on my, they had some good ass food back there. Do your homework on my.
We saw the blog. We studied it.
Y'all seen it? Y'all seen all the food? They paid for everything. It was a lot of food. Do your homework on. I don't get treated like that every day. I'm finna change.
Did Dirk say that he didn't want to be on camera?
Put it like this. Y'all want to know a lot about that. But y'all ain't got a white on.
But he used you for his indictment rollout.
Hey, throw some water on them. Dude, put some water on Remo and put some water on. Put some water on out.
Turn the sprinklers on.
Oh, my God, oh, God, since
I think you gotta throw some water on you, Adam.
Do you feel like you were used?
Put it like this. I was used and abused. I was used and abused. I was used and abused, bro. Let's start there. Me being used and abused.
So you do feel like that a little bit?
I was used and abused. And story in the sport, I was down bad. I was down bad. But then I got out. And I rose to the top. Adam.
Since then? It was like a month ago.
What you talking about?
That concert.
What you mean?
It was like a month ago, so but you wherever you're at now, you were pretty much already at that level then too, right? You didn't like rise to the top since then.
Oh, I wasn't talking about I was using abuse with the concert.
Oh.
You just asked me do I feel you
Just in general. Okay.
Answering your question.
I feel it.
You thought I was talking about the Dirt concert? Hell no. Why would I feel like I was using abused by the Dirt
That's
concert?
why I was confused too.
It's different.
Nah,
That's like you fucking that shit down and you different.
so the narrative. So
Also, I just want to point this out. Diddy shirt, baby oil weed package, pink 2C cocaine weed package. Don't tell me y'all are for the culture. They're promoting all degeneracy all the time. That's love right. That's a grown ass man.
Look, somebody dropped this song on me, but I told them I was coming up here. They said the plug talking to me.
Let's freak off. You know what those are? Those are non-consensual freak-off orgies with people who are not supposed to be part of orgies.
No, you're lying.
That's true, brother.
Yeah, so when it comes to the use thing, so everyone, I don't know, like there was comments and shit, people was trying to form a narrative saying that Dirt was trying to like use you to help the Fed case, saying that him hanging out with you shows that he's hanging out with the ops and it could like maybe help him with this Fed case that he probably knew that we didn't know.
And how J Main look at that situation, like I said on Say Cheese, bro, how would that make any sense? If Dirt, put it like this, if the Fed
I ain't told you to give me a
Dirt,
whole hug. I
they gonna
said
come
give
get
me
his
that.
ass like they did, bro. You catch my
That's
drift?
that so.
They not finna, oh, that nigga cool with J Main now, you know what? He finna drop all charges. Let it start there. We don't drop all charges.
Oh yeah, but they don't, you know what it's like, have you ever felt like you're about to get in trouble for something, you know that you're gonna get arrested or whatever, and then you just start, without even thinking about it, you start being real nice to everybody. You start kind of wanting to like patch up little minor beefs you got with people and shit. Okay, well, you're a career criminal for sure. But I feel like for a lot of people that's kind of common. Like if you know that like some bad shit is gonna happen to you or that you're about to have to deal with that shit, that you kind of instinctually, you want to be the friendliest person.
I'm a gang member. I'm not put.
Been officially indicted, my boys, unfortunately. So wait, so you tell me that Big U and Nipsey fought?
Yeah, they fought.
Really?
Yes, it's for Bill.
You know what we started at? We leave on this started. Nobody control that.
Constant reminders of your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis can make it hard to be there when it matters most.
Get hooked up on everyday spending with Cash App offers.
Once you made that first outcry and you went to jail for that
kiss, bro. Damn. Yeah. They just kiss. That's all.
Did you do this?
Music industry titan Jay-Z says that if someone's going to bring heinous allegations against him, they better have the proof to back it up. And his legal team put the court on notice that they are demanding a hearing. They say
Close the door. Oh, you.
What? What is?
Business Insider dropped an article exposing Chris Brown and Reed Navy in the atmosphere phenomenal for misusing.
Everybody was PPP, man.
We all got a business. We all got businesses and we all needed help. Fuck you.
I don't care that they finesse the PPP.
Okay, the government owe us anyway.
Yeah.
You asked.
Well, this is the thing. You guys are back standard. First of all, let me tell you something.
Want to support me?
For the purpose of murder. Murder TV. But
You know, I say stuff, Tim, and they always say I lie or I say too much. You know, I worked on an album with Biggie. We cut about 5 songs together.
And how many songs did you guys do?
I don't know, but a couple. Not maybe 8 songs, 10 songs, you know, like that. He entertaining, especially when he lies. That's when he's best entertaining.
Long ago, Fat Joe came out and said he lied in 95% of his rhymes. What did you think of that?
He told the truth for the first time. That he's a liar. That you can't really mess with that.
Fat Joe is a liar.
Said his name, Joey Crack. Joey Crack comes from back in the day. Because the homegirls, when he got up, his ass crack would be showing. So they used to always call him Crack. First of all, Fat Joe is lying. Watch number 1. The Fat Joe is lying. That is a lie.
When talking about the greatest rappers from the golden age of hip-hop, it's impossible to leave out Fat Joe. The Bronx native with Puerto Rican and Cuban roots has undeniably left his mark on the culture. From dropping 13 studio albums to delivering hit after hit, Fat Joe has been a major force in hip-hop. Not to mention, he's also played a pivotal role in cultivating talents like the legendary Big Pun, who remains a symbol of pride.
But Joe and Solo, I was out there. You wasn't out there. I was out. Solo passed away. All right, check it, right? Solo, get out. I bring Solo $300,000. He like, what's up? What's up with the name? I said, boy, you getting money, boy. Let's ride. I take him through there. He like, let's do this. I'm taking him out. He come out the second night and the third night when he's going to the dirty. I'm like, hey, Solo. Get out. He come out 8 more days, 9 more days. You know, this 20th day for me. I'm like, hey, Solo, yeah, they could read that. I ain't on that no more. Say nothing. The group is on point, though. That's nothing. He's screaming. He's screaming, give him his own studio, let him do him. I said, I gave 300. Well, look, I had to. I said, cool. I give him 80 grand. We buy the studio on this day. His main man is blind, and he's doing his thing. I say, go get that. Solo at the same time. What's that? That's 15 of them, 15 bricks. Go get that. He grabbed it for me. Go do that for me. Drop 5, keep 10. You're going to get the majority. He with me. He with law. He peeping my level of playing this game out of Miami-Dade County using the Miami brand. That's the only brand I use. You have to come to South Beach. I stay there. 300 detainers with me every night. Behind me. You must enjoy your money in Miami. I'm out the whole time. I stay at the yacht club. I got 74 cars, 2 Spam, 2 Maybach. I got all of them like this. I got all of them. They, whatever. But he peeped it. He coming out with these dudes. Anyway, his main man blind. Then I'm gonna ask Lil Haiti this. Blind. I know what's up. Blind and Solo hit for 4 bricks. They hit the Bahamians. The Bahamians talking crazy. Being Solo going through it about taking all these. He got the studio, he cooled it, he worked at my little Haiti coin on me. He said, let me run these, because stripping, they cash his checks on my baby mama, and every time I let him cash the checks, he sits there all day. Till his probation, this where he at. They coming on him. They're leery of him. I ain't tripping. That's nothing. But he a big name now. He can't put me, but he a big name. And I'm like, bruh, you gone. You gone a couple of times. Him and his brother Jack, he had been 2 more years, he was out 2 years. Before that other 2 years, we doing like 175 bricks. When Chubb died, me and Solo and Jack, Chubb's brother. Cole, anyone in Chubb's family, none of them is gonna say, they said, I am the one that did Chubb's funeral's mother. Blind, that's with Solo when he died. He got the call. Blind gets to control the whole narrative. Mac locked up, all y'all locked up. Blind, the one that's not a street dude. He never did jail on make it. He never did 1 day in jail. He never sold no bricks. He never sold ounces. He never sold a bag of weed. Blind say, he wears so good. I just want to ask Lil Haiti, will T-Flash go against, he was people. They like, man, you can get it back. I got civil lawsuits. But what I do on that count is wrong. If you can sue me, you ain't got to keep on the streets. I do. I'm held to a higher standard. I'm a gang member. I'm not playing with y'all. I'm about to shoot a gun y'all. I'm gonna dump these haircuts.
On January 26, 2024, officers were dispatched to a home following a report from a woman who requested assistance with two disruptive.
Want to support me? Go to Nene Marie 37 on Instagram and purchase.
You miss Lord?
Yeah, I don't miss.
You have a relationship?
Yeah, I don't miss. Yeah, I don't miss people.
Super talented. I feel like he's one of the most talented dudes to come out of New Orleans.
Yeah.
Get game day deals on Uber Eats. This week, it's buy one, get one French fries from McDonald's. All season long, Uber Eats has deals on your football favorites. Order now.
Miss good old miss, boy.
I think he's got monster songs. Shake your ass. Move, bitch. You know what I'm saying? You have to stand out verse on that.
I've been with Miss this since I was a teenager.
Oh, really? So you came up with him?
I ain't come up with him.
He's older, right?
Yeah, he was older when they moved to Baton Rouge. It used to be like around.
Oh, he moved to Baton Rouge?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, when he was on, when he was 2000, like when he was fucking my cousin. Yeah, he was fucking my little cousin.
You and Rollo. Rollo kind of started it. He said that he doesn't want to be like Boosie, a rapper doing shows in his 40s. I thought that was below the belt because you do great with shows. So you said, I'm grateful I'm still making $150,000 a weekend and selling out shows. You're not a rapper and there'll never be one. You're right, you should be a CEO because one thing you can't do is make music. God did not give you that talent. Now, did you do a verse for Rollo while he was locked up?
Yeah.
You didn't charge him?
Me and Rollo just had to sit down.
Oh, you guys sat down?
Yeah.
Well, because at one point he said he didn't mean to diss you. And, you know, there was some back and forth. So you guys finally sat down in person?
Yeah.
Okay. Were there a lot of people there or just two each?
Nah, his nigga was my nigga.
Okay, so there's some people that are making sure everything was calm. How did it go?
I mean, it went cool. It went cool.
So no beef anymore?
Nah.
I'm glad, man. I've always liked Rollo. I've interviewed him twice. I don't think that Rollo snitched, based on everything I've heard. And I'd like to see you two go at it. So I'm glad you guys went to that. You guys actually gonna do some stuff together, or just gonna leave it at that?
Nah, we gonna leave it at that, man. I mean,
good. That works too.
I ain't with that internet shit. We gonna let that shit go, man. It ain't about nothing.
You said that BG is still at odds with Turk.
Yes.
Or what?
BG.
For 3 years in a row, Chevy has earned more J.D. Power initial quality awards than any other brand. With
You said that BG is still at odds with Turk.
Yes.
Or what?
BG is upset with Turk when Wack 100 back to that Wack, man. Say, bro, you know what? See that little short guy? Anyway, Whack 100 called Turk and try to press Turk to say BG a rat. And BG feel like Turk didn't. First BG was saying that Turk said, yeah, agreed with it. But BG feel like Turk didn't defend his honor. So that's why BG was mad with Turk. He said in rap, he said, you got with Whack and called me a rat, you can get whacked for that. He did a song, he did a rap song about it, so I ain't capping y'all, go do the research.
Well, you also said that Lil Wayne chose Juvenile Manny Fresh Turk's side over BG.
No. What I was talking about was, after the High Boy reunion, they had a after party. BG and Birdman and Wayne, Juvenile, Fresh and Turk. And you see Wayne and the young one of the crew come in their party.
So you're saying Wayne didn't hang out with Birdman and BG?
Right.
Because Birdman and BG have been pretty close since he got out.
Right.
Matter of fact, the first time I talked to BG, Birdman put us on three-way together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they had their after party over here at the big club, and you'll see, I did a video, I said Wayne come in that thing with his little crew, then when he went and supported that after party.
Well, you call Whack 100 Rat 100.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I like to troll Whack.
Okay.
I don't have nothing against Whack. Whack is hated by a lot, but he's a favorite as well.
Yeah, he's really on my show now.
Yeah, Whack is annoying, but he get the job done. So Whack, I look at Whack just like I look at how I used to do with Boosie. Like me and Boosie, little internet little drama then died down. But with Whack, if I attack Whack, I get big views. So like once I'm off the line, that's on the line. I don't take that stuff offline because I'm happy to be free. But I come up off Whack and people love when I get at Whack and I troll Whack. Like, I don't know nothing, I have nothing on Whack, I just be throwing stuff and seeing if it's gonna stick. Because I know I'm gonna tick him off. And then Whack is gonna come back. But sometimes Whack don't like to argue with me, and I learned this. The reason why Whack don't like to go back and forth with me, because I don't match his energy. I don't argue back with him. Whack like to, yeah, that's what he love to do.
Yeah.
I just studied him, you know what I'm saying? So I be like, you know what? I'm gonna kill him this way, I'm gonna get him this way. But man, I just be having fun on his social media. But a lot of times, Whack be, people who send Whack a lot of stuff, he be coming with a lot of information.
Oh yeah, no.
Whack can kill a lot of careers.
Whack has footage and,
man,
me and him talked about, because I remember when he put out, there's a audio of Suge Knight basically saying that Tupac got raped in jail. I heard that audio afterwards. Someone I know sent it to me, and it really was Suge talking to someone basically saying that. Whack had made some allegations about some videos about Nipsey. I have a picture, not what he's talking about, but I have a picture of something along the same lines, not anything, just regular, just private, private information about Nipsey that I would never put out. But some of the stuff that Wax said, I'm saying a lot of times, you talk about the Yak Gotti snitching thing.
I knew that story before. The day it happened, I knew about it. Like, that's the thing. Social media, they always like a week, 2 weeks behind on the stuff I already know. Like, everything that has ever came about on social media, I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. I'm definitely like that baby mama that it hit a little different. Like, he gonna always, we gonna talk on the phone, we gonna be cool. Like, even if we're not physically intimate or like we on that level, we gonna always chop it up. He gonna randomly FaceTime me. Alright, check this out, y'all. Lil Babe.
Welcome back. At 90 years old, Judge Frederick Block is re-examining some of the prison sentences he has handed down after 30 years on the federal bench. Sentences he is now deemed.
Paying with Cash App Fire feels a problem because you have rounders turned on.
Give me 17 cents on Bitcoin.
Evenings can get hectic, so I turn to Bird's Eye Raw Skillet Meals Alfredo Chicken. Other frozen meals are low price but don't
as too harsh. One of those prison terms was given to Walter King Tut Johnson in 1997. after Johnson had been convicted on drug, robbery, and witness tampering charges. But as of 2 months ago, thanks to the 2018 First Step Act, Block was able to amend Johnson's sentence, releasing him from prison after 27 years. And Judge Block and Walter Johnson join us now. Judge Block is also the author of the new book with the title, A Second Chance. A federal judge decides who deserves it. Thank you, gentlemen, both for being here. Judge, we'll start with you. Talk to us a little bit about that process, that soul searching that you did, and the conclusions you reached that some of these sentences may have been too harsh.
Well, the First Step Act, which was enacted in 2018, changed the sentencing landscape in the United States of America for federal court judges. In that statute, which was a bipartisan statute endorsed by everybody, and to its credit signed off by President Trump, it gave judges like myself the responsibility to reconsider previously imposed sentences, and if warranted, to reduce the sentences, and even in the case of Walter Johnson, to let him out of jail. I sentenced him to 5 lifetime terms of imprisonment. He was supposed to die in jail 28 years ago. Because of changes in the law, because of his rehabilitation, because of the powers that district court judges now have, I was able to free him.
And let me ask you this, Judge and Walter. Well, one of the things that I found, I was a big critic of Mayor Ed Koch, but in his later years, he and I formed a Second Chance program with Professor Charles Ogletree. And I do give credit to President Trump for signing the act. One of the things I think people don't realize is that many people grew up like I did, where it was correction facilities, not just detention centers. And you throw away people's lives by giving them this whole extreme sentence where we should be trying to redeem people that are redeemable. Talk about that, Judge Block.
Well, I think that's absolutely correct. We have 4% of the world's population. We have 22% of its prisoners. And that was the motivation behind Congress's bipartisan effort to deal with mass incarceration. We are sentencing people to these indeterminate long terms of imprisonment. Things change over the passage of years, and they're entitled to have a second chance when and if that happens. So this legislation is important, Reverend Sharp, and it has to be enacted by New York State as well. Only the federal government does this. New York State has a proposed statute called the Second Look Act. They ought to enact it. So people who are in jail inappropriately and improperly in New York State have a second chance also.
Walter, tell us about you and your second chance and why it is so needed to have the opportunity for many others to have a second chance at life.
The reason why it's so needed is because, like many guys like myself, we made a lot of mistakes in our past. And many times it's because of communities we may come from, our concept on life. But as we get older and recognize our wrongs, we start to better ourselves. And as we begin to better ourselves and change, it's only right that you recognize the fact that we are working on ourselves and we are trying to become better human beings, and that we're no longer a threat to society or the threat that we once were.
Judge Frederick, Judge Block, do you have a sense of what is holding this legislation from being passed? What's holding it back?
My guess is that there's a political dynamic. I think that the leadership, is concerned about being criticized, that they're soft on crime. There's a lot of sensitivity in New York State with the bail reform situation we have, and they're gun shy. And they ought not to be. I mean, it's the right thing to do, and they have to really belly up to the bar. I hope this legislative session will finally enact that statute.
And Walter, tell us a little bit more about you and how you feel about your second chance and what you're doing with it.
I feel great about this second chance. I'm ecstatic. Now that I'm home, I get the opportunity to speak to the youth. I speak to other guys that I know who have made mistakes. I have a wife who speaks to the girls. I've developed a non-profit organization, Champions for Change, and we just want people to know that if you're a human being, you can change. You can better yourself.
That's crazy. Yes, sir.
September 26, 1990, authorities found Kevin Miller's body.
They just kissed, bro. What the damn? Yeah. They just kissed. That's your homie? That's my homie. Yeah. Man, what my homie kissing on? Man. I mean, you know, dude, right? Come on, man.
Hey, my boy been turned up. Hey, shut up, Capo Wrist.
Brooklyn's finest, ENY, holla. Okay. You ready? All right, so we gonna launch it.
Yeah.
All right. 607 up. 607 up, not the pump game.
The next stop is On the Radar Radio. Stand clear of the closing door.
He can set traps. He can use his legs to move around a little bit and wait for the right spot, the right entry point to come in with a dangerous guy. He can do it all, and he can figure it out on the fly with the cerebral part I'm talking about.
Tank Davis has once again set the boxing world on talks, and this time, it's not even fight week.
Are you okay?
It kind of felt like he was showing me something. I get this feeling I don't think we're supposed to be here.
But we are both donated. This entire nature reserve. And they care about a lot of things, not just pharmaceuticals.
Fine. I will sit there and smile.
Sorry, we're late.
What happened? You walked from the airport or what?
Perfect timing.
I need you to act like everything is fine.
Is there something in your car?
A lot of species in this area are rare.
What exactly are you saying this is, though?
I think we know exactly what it is.
A horse-like mammalia.
With some sort of protrusion around. It's a fucking unicorn.
I don't think I should be in swim shorts for this moment.
I don't think that we're supposed to have this.
We need to study it.
Whatever it is, it seems to be the cure for cancer.
Cancer? That's the biggest one. The opportunity for greatness, for immortality. I've never been so alive.
Dad, please just listen to me. We need to give the little one back. Okay, bad things will happen. Your tooth? Ridiculous.
We're doing it right. I need to take care of you. Huge retreat in the face of opportunity.
Tank recently posted videos of him looking well shredded. Muscles popping, shoulders broad, and not a hint of off-season softness in sight.
I don't care about no belts, no money, or nothing. Just get them in front of me, and I'll show you that I'm better than that next person.
His physical condition alone has the pros talking, and maybe coming to the conclusion that this fight might be tougher for Roach.
Yeah, I mean, but again, they didn't choose, so it is what it is. And again, the media like to hate him too, so yeah, I won't catch a lot of that backlash too much. I ain't really studying tricks. Don't worry about what I can do in the ring. All right, brother. All right, so.
Originally scheduled for December 14th in Houston, Texas, the clash with Lamont Roach had to be postponed due to a scheduling hiccup. Now it's set to go down at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. But while the fight date changed, one thing hasn't. Boxing insiders are skeptical about whether Roach has any real shot against Davis.
There's a rematch clause, people, so get ready for 2 fights. But, yes, and after I beat him the second time, I probably would ask the WBA to let me go up to 140 and fight where I am.
Fans may be hyped to see this matchup, but the pros are raising their eyebrows. They're watching Tank's videos and shaking their heads, wondering if Roach knows what he's stepping into. 3 months out from fight night, Tank already looks like he could step into the ring tomorrow. Videos from his recent appearance show him looking locked in, shoulders thick, arms carved, and his frame every bit the picture of power and focus. Former champion Sean Porter didn't hold back when he saw the clips. This isn't just good shape, this is I'm coming for a knockout shape. Tank is sending a message without even opening his mouth. And Porter isn't the only one taking note. Teddy Atlas, known for his blunt, no-fluff takes, chimed in with a warning. This is a guy who stays dangerous. You don't want to be the one facing Tank when he's this dialed in. Lamont Roach better have a plan, or maybe think about getting out while he can. Even among fans, the talk is all about how sharp Tank looks. Social media exploded with comments like, Roach is in trouble, and Tank's already in fight shape. But while the fans are excited, the experts are cautious. This isn't just a physical mismatch. It's a mental one, too. The consensus among boxing fans is clear. Lamont Roach has guts, but guts alone don't win fights, especially not against someone like Gervonta Davis.
He's deliberate. You know, a lot of times at the beginning, people thought he was just a stick and destroy missile. They thought he was just a guy that got you. And they thought that he would get over anxious. He don't get over anxious. He takes his time. He slowly closes those gaps. You know, inch by inch.
Roach is no slouch. He's a skilled, technical fighter with good defense and a solid chin. But even his biggest supporters can't ignore the glaring gap in experience and firepower. Take what Eddie Hearn had to say. Look, Lamont's a good fighter, no question, but Tank is on another level. This isn't a step up for Roach, it's elite. And that's where the danger comes in. And it's not just Hearn who's sounding the alarm. Hall of Famer Bernard Hopkins put it even more bluntly. There's no shame in admitting you're not ready. Tank isn't just a big puncher. He's smart, calculated, and ruthless. This isn't the kind of fight you take unless you're 100% sure you can win. Roach might not even make it out of the first half of the fight.
I'm not looking at Lamont the way that everybody else looks at Lamont. I know Lamont is a really good fighter. I'm not. This ain't no Frank Martin. That's all I'm saying. It's a real good fight.
For Lamont Roach, the stakes couldn't be higher. A win against Davis would make him an instant star. But a loss, especially a brutal one, could derail his career in a way that's hard to recover from. It's the kind of risk that has seasoned veterans shaking their heads. What makes Gervonta Davis so dangerous isn't just his punching power, though that's certainly a big part of it. It's the way he combines that power with precision, patience, and fight IQ. Tank doesn't just throw bombs, he sets traps, reads his opponents, and strikes with devastating accuracy.
My whole family is from DC. My whole family, like my entire family.
Don't bring them. Don't
For what?
bring them.
For what?
Don't bring them. I'm telling you.
They
don't
gonna
bring 'em.
celebrate with me. Yeah.
Don't bring them.
It's gonna be a party.
I'm gonna let y'all know.
Former heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis broke it down. Tank isn't just a puncher, he's a finisher. When he smells blood, it's over. Roach will have to be perfect for every second of every round to survive, and that's a near impossible task against someone like Davis. This is where the concern really comes in for Lamont Roach. While he's a solid fighter, his style doesn't necessarily match up well against Davis. Roach tends to rely on his defense and counterpunching, but against someone like Tank, who can cut off the ring and force exchanges, that strategy might not hold up.
When the people that squat fight, when they start talking, that's when y'all get dumb. I'm gonna beat his ass.
He can't do shit with it.
For real. So y'all better be quiet.
The change in venue adds an extra layer of intrigue to this fight. Moving from the Toyota Center in Houston to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn brings a different kind of energy. The Barclays Center is known for hosting electric boxing nights, And the New York crowd will be loud, passionate, and unapologetically honest. Veteran trainer Joe Goosen sees this as another edge for Davis. The atmosphere at the Barclays can be overwhelming if you're not used to it. Tank's been here before. He knows how to feed off that energy. Roach, he's stepping into unfamiliar territory, and that matters. For Roach, the pressure will be immense. He's not just fighting Tank, he's fighting the crowd, the lights, and the weight of expectations. And for a fighter with less experience on this stage, that's a lot to handle. The question on everyone's mind isn't whether Tank is ready. He clearly is. The real question is whether Lamont Roach should be taking this fight at all. Many boxing insiders believe Roach has the talent to become a world champion someday, but they're not convinced this is the right fight at the right time. Andre Ward, who knows a thing or two about timing in boxing, summed it up. There's nothing wrong with taking your time and building up to a fight like this. But once you're in there with someone like Tank, there's no going back. Roach has to be absolutely sure this is the right move for him. Even Timothy Bradley, known for his toughness in the ring and the frequent comments on Tank, had his doubts. Tank is a guy who takes your confidence away before you even realize it. Roach has heart, but sometimes heart isn't enough. He's walking into a fight that could end badly for him.
What do you think of the announcement of the Gervonta Davis-Roach fight?
I think that, it's had a lot of criticism, but it's not a bad fight. Lamont Roach is a world champion. He's smaller than Gervonta Davis. The problem is not many people are aware of who he is or his ability, but he can fight.
Despite all the warnings, one thing is certain. This fight has people talking. The contrast in styles, the stakes for both fighters, and Tank's incredible shape have created a buzz that's hard to ignore. Whether Roach can rise to the challenge, or if Davis will deliver another highlight reel knockout, March 1st is shaping up to be a night of drama and action. For Gervonta Davis, this fight is a chance to remind the world why he's one of the most feared fighters in boxing.
I know both times. The first one was a little. No, both ones. They on YouTube. You can go watch it.
Yeah, the first one's a little fishy.
Yeah, the first one I fought him in.
For Lamont Roach, it's an opportunity to shock the world and prove the doubters wrong. But if the pros are right, and they often are, this could be one of the most dangerous nights of Roach's career. Tank also recently shook the news again during the kickoff presser for his upcoming fight against Lamont Roach. The undefeated lightweight champion dropped a bombshell. 2024 will be his final year in the ring. With plans to fight 3 more times before retiring, Davis says he's ready to step away from the sport to focus on family and building his real estate portfolio.
Real estate.
This announcement has sparked a wave of reactions across the boxing community. While some fans and insiders see it as a smart move to protect his health and legacy, others are questioning whether Tank is exiting the game too soon, potentially leaving money and unification fights on the table. Legendary fighter Bernard Hopkins dived deeper into this, but with a different perspective. The Hall of Famer has thrown his full support behind Davis, praising the 30-0 southpaw as a generational talent who has already accomplished enough to earn a spot among boxing's greats. Still, even Hopkins couldn't help but wonder if this decision is truly final, or if the allure of the ring might pull Tank back in.
I'm always looking for a knockout, no matter what. I'm always prepared to swim around. But I'm always looking for a knockout, and if I get the chance, I'm going to try to knock it in.
With an undefeated record of 30, 0, 28 knockouts, and titles across 3 weight classes, Davis has built a resume many fighters can only dream of. His star power skyrocketed after his victory over Ryan Garcia in 2023, a bout that shattered pay-per-view records with over 2 million buys, and earned Tank a career-high payday of $50 million. But while the Garcia fight cemented his status as a global boxing superstar, some have criticized his career choices. The 136-pound catchweight and rehydration clause imposed on Garcia cast a shadow over the win for some fans, with Garcia himself claiming he was physically compromised. Despite the criticism, Hopkins sees Davis's body of work as undeniable. Tank did what most of the greats accomplished in their time, the highest goal, Hopkins said, as far as I'm concerned, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Hopkins isn't blind to the ongoing debates about Tank's career, acknowledging that every era has its share of fights that could have happened but didn't. But he believes Davis's achievements stand tall regardless. The timing of Davis's retirement plans has raised eyebrows, especially given the wealth of opportunities still available in the lightweight division. After his March 1st fight with Lamont Roach Jr., Tank could pursue unification bouts with the WBC champion Shakur Stevenson or the IBF title holder Vasily Lomachenko. Either matchup would generate massive interest and potentially solidify Davis's status as the undisputed king of the lightweight division.
Just overall, man, something that he's not been in the ring with. I'm a total package, and honestly, sometimes I think that was simple. But I'm a competitor, and I feel like I'm the best. So I'm a show.
Alternatively, a move up to 140 pounds could open the door for blockbuster fights against Devin Haney or Teofimo Lopez. Both fighters have expressed interest in facing Davis, and the stylistic clashes would undoubtedly draw fans in big paydays. But Davis seems uninterested in lingering too long in the sport. With his announcement to fight 3 times in 2024, including the Roach bout, only 2 fights would remain before his self-imposed exit. He's already hinted at naming his next opponent immediately after facing Roach, fueling speculation about who might make the cut for these final chapters of his career. For Hopkins, Davis's decision to retire young is more than understandable. It's admirable. As someone who fought well into his late 40s, Hopkins knows firsthand the toll boxing takes on a fighter's body and mind.
Bad logic. If Tank Davis weight bullying Lamont Roach because he pulls Lamont Roach up to 135 pounds, isn't every single fighter that's asking Tank Davis to fight at 140 pounds, aren't they trying to weight bully him too? But
Tank is aiming to secure his money and leave the sport without taking too much damage. I respect that, Hopkins said. Every fighter has to walk their own path, and Tank understands his. Hopkins also suggested that Davis's recent life changes, including the birth of his son, may have shifted his priorities. Becoming a father has given Tank a new perspective, one where long-term health and family take precedence over professional accolades. However, Hopkins left the door open for the possibility of a change in plans. He's young, and he may still change his mind, Hopkins said. Something might happen in the next 1 or 2 fights, something spectacular, that makes him reconsider. If he's going to do 1, 2, or 3 fights, let's respect that and hope they're the fights we want to see.
But everybody be talking shit to Devontae, it don't be coming out good for them, my nigga.
He's obviously a superstar. Just because who he is, they don't change no program that I got. I'm here to win. I've been coming to win. And I think the same result will happen on December 14th.
Whether Davis sticks to his retirement timeline or not, the next year will be crucial in defining his legacy. His upcoming fight against Lamont Roach Jr. is expected to be a showcase, but the real test will come in the remaining 2 bouts. Fans and critics alike are hoping Tank will use those fights to silence any lingering doubts about his career. For some, this means facing Shakur Stevenson, a fighter widely regarded as one of the most technically gifted in the sport today. A win against Stevenson would not only unify titles, but also put to rest any questions about Tank's willingness to take on the best. Others are calling for a showdown with Vasily Lomachenko, whose resume and skill level would provide the kind of high-stakes challenge Davis hasn't faced often in his career.
I think he actually took this fight for the naysayers and all this and all the people talking shit about the fight. I think he actually took the fight because he know that I'm a dog and he want to prove his skills against the dog.
And then there's the possibility of stepping into the ring with Devin Haney or Teofimo Lopez at 140 pounds. Both fighters bring unique challenges and big fan bases, making them ideal opponents for Davis's final year. As much as Davis insists he's ready to walk away, history suggests that retirement in boxing is rarely permanent. The allure of the sport, the promise of massive paydays, and the desire to cement a legacy have drawn countless fighters back into the ring. Hopkins himself admitted that something spectacular in Tank's upcoming fights could lead to a rematch or a new challenge that's too tempting to pass up. But even if Davis does step away for good, Hopkins believes his legacy is secure.
I say name for him.
What?
I say name for him.
You said 9?
Yeah.
What's your response to that, Lamont?
Look, he got scared.
He looked at 9. I'm telling you, you saying you going down in a night?
As far as his era, Tank has done enough. Every era has its what-if fights, but Tank's path is his own. If he walks away after 3 more fights, let's respect that and celebrate what he's accomplished. Gervonta Davis's announcement has sparked debate, but one thing is clear. He's leaving on his own terms. Whether he fights 3 more times or changes his mind down the road, Davis has already left an indelible mark on the sport. For Bernard Hopkins, Tank's career is a testament to smart decision-making, talent, and timing. He's done what he set out to do, Hopkins said. If this is the end, then he's leaving as one of the greats of his generation. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No one's been able to solve Tank Davis. What do you need to do together with you and your team and obviously your son to score that victory?
We got a game plan. We're going to execute it. We're going to get it moved on.
But perhaps the most interesting voice has been Conor Benn. Conor Benn isn't holding back. After a rough few years, the British welterweight has his eyes set on one of the biggest names in boxing, Gervonta Tank Davis. Ben firmly believes that Davis's upcoming opponent, Lamont Roach Jr., offers no real challenge, and that he himself would be the ultimate test for Tank's mettle. Ben's challenge to Davis isn't new. Earlier this year, the two exchanged barbs on social media, with Ben calling out Tank for a potential catchweight bout. According to Ben, a formal offer of 15 million pounds, approximately $25 million, was sent to Davis's camp, but the response was silence. He's just a mouthy little T, Ben said in an interview with Fight Hub TV, clearly unimpressed by Tank's bravado. He just wanted to pipe up and start talking. I told him, you keep talking, my promoter will get back to you in 48 hours. But according to Ben, Davis's team, including his advisor Al Heyman, shut down the idea before it could gain traction. Ben dismissed the situation with typical bravado, claiming Tank doesn't even understand the concept of negotiation. His boss didn't let him out to play, Ben quipped. He's an idiot. I don't even think he knows what negotiating means.
Gervonta Davis, this is the latest. Gervonta Davis and Conor Benn going back and forth to the point where Davis is just firing off 5 or 6 tweets. He's showing us screenshots where Eddie Hearn is dropping into the DMs and saying, "Oh, you really want this fight?" Gervonta's saying, "Yeah, I do."
Davis is or Tank is going there. Yeah, I'll fight him. He obviously saw something. Oh yeah, I'm gonna beat that guy. You know, I don't.
Ben's confidence is rooted in his belief that Davis's career has been strategically managed to avoid the toughest fights. While Tank boasts an impressive undefeated record and victories across multiple weight classes, Ben isn't buying the hype. His career has been very well maneuvered, Ben said. Fight Shakur. I bet he'll retire before he fights Shakur. For Ben, Davis's choice to face Lamont Roach Jr. only reinforces this narrative. Ben believes that Roach, while a respectable fighter, doesn't pose a legitimate threat to Tank's dominance. Lamont Roach is no challenge. He's just keeping busy, Ben said. Instead, Ben sees himself as the kind of opponent who could genuinely test Davis's limits.
Dropping that fight this mate. It's an overreach by anyone. You know, it ain't my concern. You know, in 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and away and another thing. But then stop happening on Twitter. You know what I mean? Stay quiet. Stay at your house with your little tag on your ankle, with your house arrest. They're fighting up on Twitter.
Known for his aggressive style and knockout power, Ben is convinced that his relentless approach would be too much for Tank to handle. One of the sticking points in Ben's pursuit of Davis is the issue of weight. While Davis has fought as high as 140 pounds, most notably when he stopped Mario Barrios to claim the WBA's super lightweight crown, he currently campaigns at 135. Ben, on the other hand, is a natural welterweight, typically fighting at 147 pounds. To make the fight happen, Ben has proposed a catch weight of 143 pounds. I would even do a catch weight at 143, Ben said. I would make 143 for him. He won't take the fight.
Hit those guys at 35 and 40. Why don't you mess with those guys at 54, 47 and 54? Mess with those guys. Call those guys out. You know what I'm saying? If you really want to, fight somebody, Go up there and fight the one that the best, the 54 pounders, the 47 pounders.
The offer demonstrates Ben's willingness to compromise and meet Davis halfway, but he remains skeptical that Tank will accept. Ben's challenge comes at an intriguing time in his own career. The 28-year-old has been working to rebuild his reputation after a positive test for the banned substance clomiphene derailed a highly anticipated bout with Chris Eubank Jr. in October 2022. After being cleared by the National Anti-Doping Panel, Ben is now free to fight in the UK again, and his sights are set on major bouts. He's currently negotiating a February clash with WBC welterweight champion Mario Barrios, but he's made it clear that a fight with Davis would take priority. He's the one who wanted to pipe up, Ben said. Now he has the chance to back it up.
Yeah, man, I mean, it's going to go, Tank going to be losing the first 3 rounds, then he's going to download the data, then he's going to knock this dude out in round 7 or 8, then he's going to do the backflip, then Jim Gray's going to get in the ring, or Caleb plants a wife and say, who do you want next? And Tank's going to say, I want all those guys, and they're going to go to the press conference, and Elliot Setback's going to say, who do you want next? He say, I want all.
While Davis has faced criticism for his choice of opponents, there's no denying his skill and power. With a record of 30, 0 and 28 knockouts, Tank is one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. But Ben believes he has what it takes to end Davis's undefeated streak. I'm the real challenge, Ben said. Not these guys he's been fighting, not Roach, me. And for Ben, it's about more than just proving himself. It's about showing the world that he's not afraid to take on the best and that he's ready to leave his mark on the sport. But do you see Lamont Roach standing a chance against Tank? Let us know below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more updates.
What's that new guy interview?
He's back. That's the fourth fucking time he's done that.
So people are
People with serious intent to hurt.
Might have guys starting to move on position. Yeah, we're getting built up with activity here too.
Yeah, I got the weapons at this point.
Yeah, we have definitely massive.
Well, I mean, we evac at our last known position. Yeah, so he was wounded. He was just a little wounded. He's like,
One more time, it's good. You come to you or you come to us. Okay, it was. We'll let you know when we're inbound. Come on. Let's go! This is when the 85-minute building. The scouts are going to read us out. I'm bringing up the rear. Lots of smoke. Smoke out? We are all coming back. What do you want? They are in route here. Oh, fuck that. Where are you guys? Look for the blood and the smoke. Ruffle bag, I'm trying to get to our position. Enemy on our building and all surrounding buildings. Like that. Get by. Going on.
Save big on better sleep during Raymore and Flanagan's year-end mattress sale. Get the mattress of your dreams for as little as $15 a month with no interest for 72 months. The year-end mattress sale is on now at Raymore and Flanagan.
Over the course of 15 years, there has been 11 bantamweight champions of the UFC, Their individual stories you may have heard before, even on my own channel, the controversies, the highs, the lows, the contentious split decisions, and yes, the highlight reel knockouts. The journey of these athletes runs the gamut of the thrill and the agony. Their individual stories to clutching the crown told in isolation is the tale of a singular champion, but all roads to the title told together completes the legacy of an entire division. So over the next 4 hours, we will explore the intersection of these fighters' legacies, how their stories weaved in and out of one another to create such drama, such intrigue, wins and losses spread across time, the fable of awe-inspiring climbs to the pinnacle of a division. And so now we go back to an unlikely beginning, 2006, Lemoore, California, and a little organization vying for validity out of that state. The WEC. In many ways, the organization is one of the most revered and nostalgic homes of combat competition in the history of MMA. If you ask early MMA fans what some of their favorite fights were, then they would be pointing directly to the WEC to provide answers. From the Showtime kick to Jose Aldo's insane 8-second knee over Cub Swanson, the WEC had it all. The UFC had purchased them back in 2006, and from there, they would go on to act as a sort of sister company that held the smaller weight divisions, featherweight and below. Even in 2007, the UFC was yet to expand its roster below 155 pounds, owing to the fact that all its fighters were smaller. Even the cage that the practitioners fought in was smaller, sitting at 25 feet. Whilst the organisation did have heavier competitors, for them it was considered the melting pot for those seeking to enter the UFC. From Nick Diaz, Brian Stan, Gilbert Melendez to Anthony Pettis, the WEC was responsible for making a name for many of the stars that would become household names in the UFC. For featherweight and bantamweight though, many consider it the lineal and historic legacy of the UFC divisions themselves. That is why when fighters are introduced in the UFC to this day, former champions of the WEC are still given their former prestige by Bruce Buffer in their introductions. And so in many ways, Eddie Wineland is considered the first lineal bantamweight champion of the UFC. He had claimed the inaugural title back in May of 2006 after defeating Antonio Banulos via head kicks and punches. In the 4 years prior, Eddie had gone 14-4-1 in his budding professional career, only 3 of the fights actually going to decision. In his first defense of his title, he would be taking on Chase Beebe, a Chicago native who had gone 9-1 in his last few outings, and their fight would be taking place as the co-main event on a now infamous event, and an event that you have more than likely heard me talk about before, WEC 26. WEC 26 was stacked, 3 title fights, a who's who of future legends, Carlos Condit, Cub Swanson, Brian Stan, and in many ways, 2 of the most important characters in the history of the bantamweight division, Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz. But you might be asking yourself, aren't these 2 men fighting for the featherweight title right now in this event? How can this have anything to do with the 135-pounders? Well, it's a long, complicated rivalry that traverses multiple divisions, teammates, and multiple organizations. The highs and lows of bantamweight start here in a battle for the WEC featherweight throne. The importance of this poster cannot be overstated though. This poster right here, with Uriah sitting proud as the featherweight king, truly started one of the most storied rivalries the sport will ever know. This fight took place in a time where besides the stars of the sport, the only thing opponents knew about each other was their name. There was no tape to go back and look at. There was no long hours of sitting down, analysing each other's fighting patterns. The fact was, any inclination of what your opponent looked like was from the release of the poster promoting the fight. Dominic would state, "I know who I'm fighting, but Faber doesn't know me because I'm nobody. There's no picture of me on the poster. Go figure. So how's he going to recognise me?" And to be fair, there kind of was no way for Uriah to really know who Dom was. He was young in his career, 9-0, having started MMA just 2 years prior. Whilst he was a double champion and lightweight and featherweight respectively, he was in an organisation no one really cared about, but the WEC saw the talent and thrusted him into a featherweight title fight. There was, however, good reason as to why Dominic knew exactly who Faber was. He was one of the few men in the lighter divisions who had actually made a name for himself. Uriah was a star. Uriah had established himself in MMA 4 years prior in a dominant, spectacular run through multiple divisions. After notching 18 wins and 1 loss into his record, he had become the current WEC featherweight champion and had been the champion in 2 other organizations with multiple defenses against the likes of Bibiano Fernandez and Crazy Horse Bennett. Uriah, in a short time, had become a legend of the sport, particularly for the lower weight classes. He was marketable and charismatic, and many hailed him as a man that had put the featherweights on the map and was single-handedly creating a craze for the lighter divisions. Eddie Wineland, the current bantamweight WEC champ, would introduce Dom to Faber at the beginning of fight week. According to Dom, Faber would look him up and down a couple of times and then say, "Oh, you're the guy I'm fighting? You might not think it." But that would kick this whole thing off. Dominic would later state, right off the bat, "I can't explain it. That's where this rivalry started. He's lucky he didn't get punched in the face right then and there." It was the first time Uriah had seen his opponent in any form, and he had immediately dismissed the young and inexperienced foe, even stating that he hadn't even bothered to watch any of his previous fights in anticipation for theirs. And that leads us all the way to the poster. So Dominic, the up-and-coming combat sports athlete, didn't have enough room to fit on the poster. He felt slighted by the promotion, and it perhaps what is one of the more petty moments from Cruz, but certainly indicative of the legendary trash talk and mind games to come. He would sign right across Uriah's face. Now, this particular poster doesn't have that. His signature is actually up here, but you can imagine the loved and well-respected Uriah wasn't best pleased with what Dom had done.
Halfway through, he started signing right over my face. You know, we take those home as fighters also, and we give them to our coaches and our friends and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of a weird thing for him to do. I don't know if he has a chip on his shoulder, or he's just an angry person, or what the deal is, but...
And so within days of meeting each other, they went from not knowing a single thing about one another to starting a rivalry over something petty, but still a rivalry nonetheless. And well, all that was left to do was to fight.
We check in now with Joe Martinez for the official decision.
It comes in 1 minute 38 seconds of round number 1. Submission by Guillotine Joe and still the WEC featherweight champion.
The fight would be a quick, somewhat expected affair. The tough and battle-worn champ would submit the young and inexperienced Cruz within just 2 minutes to a guillotine choke. With the first taste of defeat in his professional career, Cruz had this to say: "I just knew that I was going to see him again. This was my first thought. After I fought him, I was in the back, naturally pretty sad about losing. I was young. This was my first loss. This is nothing. A learning experience, I thought to myself. I needed to go through this. I'll never forget." He walked through the hall, and I was sitting with my coaches. I'm looking at the floor, and he kind of paused and gave me a look. I don't know if he'll remember, but I do, because it's stuck in my head ever since. He looks at me in the room and gives me this smug look, like I shouldn't have even bothered trying. He didn't like me either. He thought I was a punk kid, and made his judgments about me at that point. Didn't think I was worthwhile to even be fighting him. If you were there that night, you'd probably think to yourself there is no possible way that a storied and bitter rivalry would stem from this one singular matchup. But it was a feud that would transcend the 2 men in the cage that night. It would overflow across multiple weight classes and multiple team members, and one that would ultimately define the bantamweights forever. That guillotine choke lit a fire within Dominic Cruz, one that would burn for the next decade. Dominic was mentally preparing himself to call Team Alpha Male.
The holidays are an amazing time to find out you actually don't know what people in your life really want. So erring on the side of caution, I love to give my family something that they could use every single day and could use multiples of, such as today's video sponsor, Raycon, and their everyday earbuds. Raycon's everyday earbuds are a must-have for any audio lover and make an amazing holiday gift for any of your loved ones. Why? Well, how about 32-hour battery life? I honestly have no idea how I lived before without this insane battery life. No more music cutting off in the middle of a run, workout, or editing session. By the way, the headphones are also now sweat and weather resistant. And how about when you're in a crowded place? Well, the everyday earbud now comes with active noise cancellation. Active noise cancellation is rarely found at such an affordable price point, and it's why Raycon is at the top of my gifting list. I've also been loving these cool protective case covers. First of all, check out this design. It complements the earbuds colour perfectly, and no matter what your personal taste is, they have a design and colour for you. And not only do these look great, they support wireless charging also, so I don't even have to take the protective cover off to get 90 minutes of battery and just 10 minutes of charging.
I don't have time for this.
Don't let phone management tie up your business. Free your team with Verizon Business Complete. Shipping, setup, replacement, recycling. We do it all, so you don't have to.
For 3 years in a row, Chevy has earned more J.D. Power initial quality awards than any other brand. With the high-tech SUV, the all-electric Equinox EV, and a truck for work or play. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Every moment captured. That's the gifted work. Unlock the health and fitness insights that matter most. Shop now.
Go to buyraycon.com/mixedmartial to save big for the holidays and get up to 25% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 25% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/mixedmartial. Thanks again, Raycon, and now back to the video.
After his defeat to Uriah, Dominic would make his way down to a third weight class, bantamweight, a place that would become his home for the remainder of his fighting career, and a place where he would find dominance. After going 4-0 against top contenders in the division, including Ian McCall and undefeated Team Alpha Male prospect Joseph Benavidez, he had earned his second shot at the WEC title, facing off against the now WEC bantamweight champion Brian Bowles. The 135-pound title had changed hands a couple of times since Eddie Wineland had become the inaugural champion. He would be defeated by Chase Beebe at WEC 26, who himself would go on to defend the title once, before passing the torch to Miguel Torres, a ferocious fighter, much beloved by the fans for his exciting performances. He had managed to sit on the throne for 3 defenses, before being usurped by American standout Brian Bowles, who now, in his first defense, would be taking on Cruz. These men were the pioneers of this division, fighting for a pathetic paycheck when glory and violence trumped the bank balance. The title fights that took place during this era were some of the most technical and brutal the sport would ever host, and well worth your time to go back and watch. Dominic would clutch the title after the second round due to a doctor stoppage, becoming the 5th ever bantamweight champion. In his first defense, he would win a close split decision in a rematch against Benavidez. Vicariously through one of Uriah's teammates, Dominic had not only settled the score, but notched himself up against the squad. Cruz was distancing himself from that younger and inexperienced fighter that had stepped in and lost to Uriah those few years ago, and he was now settling into becoming a dominant and undefeated bantamweight. But there was news on the not-so-distant horizon that was going to change the smaller weight classes forever.
Ariel Helwani standing alongside the president of the UFC, Mr. Dana White. And Dana, thank you so much for the time today. I want to take you back to July. That's when I first heard the rumor that WEC was merging with the UFC. And since then, I've gathered a lot of information. Now I confidently present it to you and ask you the question. Is WEC merging with the UFC?
Yes.
When?
The last fight in the WC will be in December.
October 28th, 2010, the merger begins. Jose Aldo, the featherweight WEC champion, is promoted to the inaugural UFC featherweight champion, and Dominic Cruz will face Scott Jorgensen at the final WEC event on December 16th that same year. The winner winner will claim the final WEC Bantamweight Championship and at the exact same time have the inaugural UFC Bantamweight strap wrapped around their waist. The event would signal the finalization of 2 new weight classes joining the UFC, taking the total to 7 different weight limits. The UFC was expanding, and as its roster of fighters grew, it only made sense to add more weight classes. At this point, the WEC had done all the hard work putting the smaller weight divisions on the map, but ultimately they would fade into the annals of history. Just another victim of the UFC monopoly, but its place in the archives of the sport can never be understated. Uriah Faber and Jose Aldo had quickly become household names for casual viewers and had rightly become the inspiration for smaller fighters across the globe. The UFC's aggressive growth had consumed pride and Strikeforce and presumably made any number of competition fade into obscurity. It's a shame that most fans of MMA won't ever remember the WEC for what it was, the organization that provided a platform to see the rise of Donald Cerrone, the Showtime Kick, the Korean Zombie, and Jose Aldo's 4-second destruction of Cub Swanson. Time was running out for the WEC, and the 53rd event would roll around in a final waltz. Dominic Cruz would win his title fight against Jorgensen and be crowned as the first and last of 2 different organizations. The WEC bowed out of the sport forever, left to fade into abstract memory, and the UFC trudged onward towards supremacy. The UFC's first step in making their own bantamweight history would begin by buying into a narrative that had its foundations laid all those years ago at WEC 26, the rematch between Uriah and Cruz. See, Uriah, after beating Dom, would continue to cement his legacy by defending his featherweight belt multiple times, but not before coming up against 2 men who would show Faber that he was punching above his weight, Mike Brown and Jose Aldo. Uriah wasn't a natural featherweight. In fact, he was one of the smaller guys for the weight class, but because he had gone relatively untested, he had no reason to move back down to the weight class that he had started in. But after suffering 3 losses, 1 to Aldo and 2 to Brown, bantamweight was the obvious next move for his career, a division now ruled by the young man that he had choked out all those years ago. After gathering 2 wins over Takeya Mizugaki and Eddie Wineland inside the UFC's octagon as some of the first bantamweight fights to ever take place in the organization, Faber had perfectly, and rather fittingly, set up his shot at the first bantamweight title fight in the UFC. The fight would be announced for UFC 132 in July of 2011, and despite the years that had flown by, Dom's and Uriah's rivalry hadn't gone anywhere.
He's the poster boy, and I know it, and everybody else knows it, for the WEC at that point. And the WEC doesn't even put my face on the poster. Just my name in fine print at the bottom. And Uriah's big chin right there, just sitting on the poster, and it just pissed me off. I said, man, what's this all about? I'm good enough to fight him for the title, but I'm not good enough to be on the poster. I'm gonna be on this poster. I signed right there on his face. And I'll never forget, I'm sitting in the room, my head's down. He walks by, and I don't even know if he remembers this, but I do, because it's stuck in my head. And he's like, oh, good fight, bro, like that. And he kind of looked at me like, yeah, you know, you signed on my face in the posters, that's what happens. And he walked off. And I'm like, all right.
This is just another fight for me. It's just another matchup. And that's the mindset I'm going in. Is, you know, I haven't seen Ryan in 4 years. And, you know, we've changed a lot, both of us. And I've done everything I can possibly do from beginning to end for the past 12 weeks to win this fight.
You put Dominic and I in the same little neighborhood, and we probably ended up fighting each other, you know, because, you know, his bad attitude and me not taking crap, and me being the badder dude, you know, and that's what this is about. So
at this point, we don't have to rehash why you don't like Uriah Faber. We've heard it by now, but are you almost tired of talking about this guy? You've had to talk about him for so long, even prior to some of your other fights in WC, like the Jorgensen fight.
I think that's exactly what it is. I'm just tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm ready to settle it, get in there and fight. That'll make the talking stop, and I can start hearing about me being champion instead of my loss to Uriah Faber.
I think it's obvious when watching the 2 interact that whilst they clearly don't like one another, there is certainly a level of respect between them. Uriah had given a name to all lower weight classes, and that would never be lost on Cruz. And from Uriah's perspective, Dom had clearly matured and grown into his position as a dominant and skilled champion. far removed from that inexperienced kid that he had submitted, but that layer of disdain boiling below the surface wasn't going away, and the intensity of the stare down was a physical manifestation of years of history, years of Team Alpha Male vying for Dom's downfall, coinciding for one moment, one more fight. Dominic Cruz would edge Uriah out in a close-fought fight of the night, handing Uriah his first loss in the UFC. Cruz, on the other hand, had finally claimed back the only loss he'd ever suffered, a loss that had been burned into his mind for 4 years, one that had propelled him into becoming a world champion. Getting that win back must have been a crowning moment for Cruz's career, the culmination of years of effort, persistence and sacrifice, those long days spent grinding in the musty bowels of some gym in San Diego, intent on one thing, revenge. Despite the judge's decision, Uriah felt that he had won the fight, and considering the shallow history of the bantamweight division at the time, assumed that he was just one win away from a rubber match with Dominic, a trilogy to determine who in fact was the better man inside of the cage. And to be fair to Uriah, they were 1-1. Dominic, in fact, now 3-1 against Team Alpha Male team members. Dom later that year would defend his belt against future flyweight legend Demetrius Johnson, and Uriah would choke out former WBC bantamweight champion Brian Bowles in a title eliminator a month after that, perfectly setting up a rubber match, but the rivalry was about to take a route down an inflammatory path. The UFC wanted to capitalize on the final chapter between these bitter rivals. Their feud was the fuel to legitimize the bantamweights in the organization, and so to round off the trilogy, both competitors were placed in the melting pot of the Ultimate Fighter.
These are your coaches. Current world champion Dominic Cruz, former world champion Uriah Faber.
What? What? What's up with you?
Yo, chip today or what?
Nah, I always got a chip.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, this right here. I always tell you to knock it off, dog. No, you don't understand. You say you understand, you don't listen. In order to understand, you have to listen. Shut up and listen.
Don't be a nugget of Nelly. Give Taco Bell some crispy chicken nuggets a try.
Reimagine exceptional with the 2024 Buick Envision. Buick, exceptional by design.
Current eligible Buick lessees get this ultra-low mileage lease on its 2024 Envision Sport Touring all-wheel drive for around $319 per month.
Are you ready to transform your health career? Explore free and low-cost courses, trainings, and certificates that can take your career and the care you provide to the next level. Learn more at caringcareers.ri.gov.
Great job, Pickle. You did good, bud.
Hey, but
Don't let
nobody
anybody
cares
get
what
you
you say,
down.
man. Nobody cares what you say.
Don't let anybody get you down. Hey, you're a warrior.
Faber, just want you to know,
make 35
nobody cares what you have to say. Why don't you get out of here? And nobody cares. You look like a bum. You're irrelevant. Quit talking. Go get your own. Go get your grandpa's Mercedes and go home.
The show proved to drive a wedge further between the fierce competitors, and over the course of its airtime, we would see more heated moments between the two. The show was a massive success, and its numbers were guaranteeing the coaches to become stars at the end of it. The final for the show, and their third matchup at UFC 148, co-headliners for Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen's hyped matchup. It was the perfect platform to make the winner a pay-per-view cash machine for the UFC, but it also served as a meaningful and impactful conclusion for the two men that had such a long and bitter feud.
First started fighting, there was only 155 and up. There wasn't 135, 145 didn't exist. So the fact that that the things that he did at 145 pounds made him the person to beat. And I was 9-0 at the time, and I fought him, and I lost. And that put me on just getting tunnel vision.
You're living right now because there's rules in MMA. If there weren't,
then
I'm just saying.
You wouldn't have a leg.
Is that intimidating?
You got slept by Mike Brown. There's a lot of people that let you live in that mindset.
Wrong.
Right.
Fate, however, would have other plans for these two athletes, and as the show neared its conclusion, the start of an historic and brutal journey for Dominic Cruz would begin. Soon to be announced was the first domino to fall in one of the darkest storylines the division would ever have to offer, and something that would shape the very course of the bantamweights for many years to come.
Normally I come over here for either good or bad. This is the bad.
Dominic blew his knee out.
So I'm sure everybody's heard terrible news. Dominic tore his ACL.
And I'm actually lucky that that's all I tore. A lot of times people tear ACL, meniscus, LCL, all kinds of stuff all at once, one clean swipe. The doctors are telling me about 9 months. I think GSP's taken about 11 so far. You got to take all the time you need because when you're competing at a championship level, you have to be 100% fighting against these guys.
I'm just waiting to hear what happens. I'm thinking a interim title. He's been out almost a year and a half now. Once this surgery goes through, it's going to be another 9 months. So I'm hoping for a top contender. Renan Barao, in my opinion, is next up.
We didn't want this to leak out. Your opponent is Barao.
July 7th, Uriah Faber and Brow. Maybe not who you want to win. And I have a feeling it may be Uriah just so that you can meet again, but who are you picking?
I think Faber's actually going to win. I think that he's smart. He takes down Brow, and he does it pretty good.
In what would be the second chapter in a long and storied history of the bantamweight division, Uriah Faber would serve as the A-side, whilst a rising Brazilian hailed as the second coming of Jose Aldo would be the B-side. Renan Barao trained at the same camp as Jose and in a lot of ways was reminiscent of his fighting style, quoted many times saying that he only ever looks for knockouts or submissions, and whilst many fighters like to make such lofty claims, Renan backed it up. Barao had started in MMA 7 years previously as a professional. Whilst he did lose his very first fight, he would go on a crusade to disintegrate any memory of that loss. And when I say a crusade, I mean it. He would win 30 fights in a row, of which only 9 were decisions. Whether he was strangling his foes or beating his opponents into unconsciousness, the only reality was that you were most definitely going to lose when facing him. There are very few fighters on planet Earth who can claim that they have won 30 fights in a row. His last 5 wins had been in the UFC and the WEC, proving that he could do it in all levels of the sport. To put it simply, Renan was a Brazilian nightmare, a terrifying matchup, and someone who looked to be one of the most dominant fighters in the division. And now here he was, provided an opportunity to claim an interim UFC title, and at the same time shunt one of the sport's heroes in Uriah Faber down the rankings. Dominic would watch on the opposite side of the cage, recovering from his ACL surgery, and was expected to return against Barao by the end of the year. Unable to defend his belt and earn money in the cage, Dominic would turn to the analyst desk, a place where he would quickly become one of the greatest minds in the sport for breaking down fights, and is also a platform that allowed us to see some of the funniest quips and one-liners in the sport.
Does he get back up?
He can get back up.
How do you beat him?
How do I beat him? I beat him whichever way I want to beat him.
Which means what?
If we want to stand, you can watch my fights. You can see it. I box.
So you're gonna box him, or are you gonna wrestle him, or are you gonna mix it?
Fights to come. 6 fights to come on the card. We're gonna preview the action ahead.
As the end of 2012 drew closer, Dom was finally allowed to train again, and would soon be cleared to challenge the man poised to usurp.
So I sit down and I go, all right, my knee's torn, and that was when I hit like a real bad rock bottom. And I'll never forget that day. It was like New Year's Eve. I sat on the mat and just looked at the floor knowing I had to restart that 9 months again. It was heartbreaking. And you realize who's around you for those things you had. The girl leaves. Sponsors start falling off. I mean, it all got taken from me. I'm in a hurt spot right now. And the love that I get, I had my depression like this.
There are very few words to describe the position that Dominic was in. That palpable darkness, a constant threat to his own physical and mental health, a plague that seemingly can affect each and every one of us and drag us down to our lowest moments. And that thought of those suffering, about to give up because of life's ceaseless tide of worry, setbacks, and unfortunate circumstances, gave Dominic a reason to continue to fight, to show that demons can be conquered, and that our best selves are forged in the melting pot of life. He wanted to return to the top of the sport to prove that if he can do it, then we all can. And so helpless, sidelined, unable to compete and defend his title, he would watch as Barao would put his interim title on the line twice in 2013, first against Michael McDonald, and second against former WEC bantamweight champion Eddie Wineland, retaining it in both outings, brutally finishing both former WEC standouts. The UFC this whole time staying true to their injured champ, keeping Dominic on the throne as bantamweight king for an unprecedented amount of time. And as 2013 drew to a close, the UFC once again anticipated Dominic's imminent return. Over 2 years removed from the sport, he was finally healthy and ready to step foot inside of the cage.
Has anyone from the UFC talked to you about a timetable of when they want you to return or when they think you have to return?
I'm looking to be back beginning early next year in 14. And I can't give an exact date because the truth is I haven't been even cleared by the doctor.
I finally get back to health after the second ACL. 9 months goes by. All right, let's take this Barao fight. So I'm ready. I'm training in camp. About a month in, I remember I was sparring one day and I went to throw a right hand and my leg just gave out and I fell on the floor. That fell on me occasionally. So I ended up calling Dana, and it's one of the few phone calls I've ever had with Dana. Unfortunately, this is probably one of the times he remembers. He's telling him I'm sorry. I gotta pull out.
Dana, I understand there will be big changes regarding UFC 169 Super Bowl weekend. What are they?
Longtime bantamweight champion Dominic Cruz. He got a great 2 or 3 groin tear, getting ready for the big fight against interim champion Evan Barao. So he's out of the fight again. So now Uriah Faber, one of the biggest stars of the UFC, he's going to step in just 3 weeks' notice and take on Evan Barao.
The UFC, after so many years of sticking with Dom, were forced.
Agent Grace. She's my best.
Honey?
That's a title. I'm going to split both guys, guys.
Hunt her down.
New Aveeno Daily Moisturizing Cream. Instantly strengthens skin's moisture barrier.
Take control of your family's health with Sambicol Immunity Gummies. Scientifically studied, Sambicol is the #1 black elderberry immunity brand trusted by millions of Americans. For proven powerful immune support, take control with Sambicol.
To let go of him as champion, and so on January 6th, Dana would announce that Dom would be stripped of the title. The division would continue to move on, this time with Barao promoted to the undisputed champion of the world. And so, on a month's short notice, Uriah, who had gone on to win 4 fights in 2013, including a submission of the night over Michael McDonald, would step up for his 3rd shot at UFC gold and his chance for redemption against Barao. It was a strange time in the division, to say the least. Dominic, the man that had founded the division in the UFC, was gone, and now Brazilian, on a crash course to GOAT status, had his hands firmly around the reins. And I think it's safe to assume that Dominic wasn't best pleased that his rival was one of the men who had the opportunity to sit on his would-be throne. Barao, however, would go on to embarrass Uriah, knocking him down twice, and ultimately finishing it in the first round at 3 minutes and 42 seconds. And with the victory, Hennen would leave Dominic Cruz's legacy in the rearview mirror. He was now the man. He was the bantamweight king. Dominic's reign had ended the night the Octagon doors had closed on the title matchup at UFC 169. His string of injuries, too much to overcome, and his return to the sport had received its final nail in the coffin. After years of wrestling with the ideas of leaving the gloves behind, he had finally made his decision. It was over for the former bantamweight champion. World had placed a full stop next to Dominic's name in the history books. and the UFC pushed onward with the division. Just a couple months after defeating Uriah, Barao would be called in on short notice to piece together a failing pay-per-view event at UFC 173 after Chris Weidman's middleweight title matchup had been moved to another card due to various reasons. The UFC needed a new main event and asked the bantamweight champ if he would take on a Sun Sal, but then that matchup would fall apart because of an injury on the Sun Sal's part. With no other real options, they asked Team Alpha Male prospect TJ Dillashaw to step up on relative short notice to fill some big shoes.
So, to end it off, how much of a life-changing experience is getting the headline?
I try not to think about it too much as life-changing, you know? I mean, obviously winning that belt will change my finances and how much everyone know me, but I want to be the same person, you know? I want to be just as humble as I am and continue to do the same things.
And so TJ Dillashaw entered the octagon as a 6-1 underdog to face the most dominant force the bantamweight division had ever seen. But TJ had only gotten here because of his mentor, Uriah Faber, who had peddled him to the UFC after losing to Barao himself. Faber had pulled a young TJ Dillashaw out of college, guiding and crafting him into a spectacular MMA practitioner. And although TJ had lost twice in the UFC already, once after making it through the Ultimate Fighter reality TV show, but losing to John Dodson in the final, and a second was a split decision loss to Rafael Assunção, Faber was confident that his Team Alpha Male prodigy was good enough to take out the reigning defending champion. TJ himself, molded and stylized after Dominic Cruz, this coupled with Team Alpha Male's new head coach Dwayne Ludwig, owner of one of the fastest knockouts in UFC history, who had been elevating the team's striking for the last year with notable improvements. The oddmakers saw TJ Dillashaw for what he was though, a college wrestler who couldn't quite make it to the top, and a UFC fighter who struggled to put a meaningful win streak together. And so, as a massive underdog and a late replacement, TJ stepped into the octagon. Winning the UFC title was a moment that has been repeated many times, but each and every single strap wrapped around the victor brings with it the same poignant feelings and emotions elicited by the minutiae of each individual fighter's lives. Their unique journey to the belt separates each from one another. TJ's was no different. An underdog, counted out from the very beginning. A loser, too young and too inexperienced, yet he shook the world with his win over Barao. TJ's head coach, Dwayne, crying as he embraces his student. His team and the crowd go crazy. UFC staff experiencing equal levels of shock and amazement at this crowning moment. Uriah enters the stage to congratulate and hug the young wrestler that he had pulled out of college. The kid who had such promise for a career in mixed martial arts. Certainly without Uriah, TJ would never have had his name etched into history itself. Whilst TJ rode the thrill of reaching the pinnacle of the sport, the cracks of this friendship were already present, and the darkness was about to spew out between the splits.
Dwayne Ludwig decided in January to leave his native Colorado and accept a job in Sacramento, California as Team Alpha Male's head coach.
TJ's story starts in Sacramento, California, the home of Team Alpha Male, the titular squad of elite fighters that had been plaguing the lower weight divisions for an eon. Uriah Faber had served as the head coach of sorts, but as an active fighter, he wasn't exactly the greatest man to have his attention solely on elevating his team. So a year and a half prior to the TJ Barao fight, they hired Dwayne Ludwig, a kickboxer who had competed in K1, and an MMA fighter who had on and off stints in both the UFC and Strikeforce, competing since 2000. In many ways, he was one of the first set of men to bravely proceed into the wild west of the growing sport. Whilst his career had been back and forth, never really getting anywhere, he was more known as being one of the greatest striking coaches and MMA minds in America. Whilst he couldn't put his own knowledge into practice, he could certainly elevate those around him, and that manifested in the complete renovation of Team Alpha Male's striking. They became far more refined, skilled, and confident in their hands, and with that improvement, started knocking people out.
Started was Uriah just texted me one night, said, Dwayne, is this your number? I said, yeah, we talked that night. He brought me out, my wife and I out for a seminar, knocked out Sacramento, and then started coaching the guys. you know, I'm getting way more credit than I deserve. I don't actually do that much. I just give them ideas and these, you know, athletes just running with it. So it's going good, man. They're really happy. I'm much happier now outside the cage than I was inside the cage.
Legend in our sport, in my opinion. He's a guy that's won kickboxing world championship.
The fact that we got a guy like Dwayne Ludwig, who I just feel was really the missing link for Team Alpha Male.
It's just about a little bit of organization. We've always been a good team. We've been here supporting each other, coaching each other. But it's hard having fighters coaching fighters.
Team Alpha Male fighters have gone undefeated in 10 UFC fights.
It's one thing for us to say, oh, we're feeling better. It's awesome to have a coach, but I think the results are showing it also. We all look a lot cleaner.
It was the perfect storm since Dwayne's inclusion as head coach. The team had an undefeated year in the UFC, looking unstoppable every step of the way, culminating in TJ finally getting that coveted UFC title that Team Alpha Male had been unable to lay claim. Each and every fighter in their post-fight interviews had nothing but admiration and gratitude for his coaching. But as with all things, what looks like a perfect score in the surface lies underneath a more complicated and tumultuous reality. A couple months before TJ would claim the title of bantamweight champion, Uriah would advertise the spot for a new head coach at the gym. It would transpire that Dwayne, not happy with his paycheck, would be taking his expertise to Colorado in order to build his own team from the ground up. And what should have been a fairly simple split and departure for both sides was instead caught and twisted by the media, who managed to dredge up truths and pains that otherwise should have been left out of the public domain. Dwayne, in the weeks leading up to the TJ title fight, would discuss his impending departure, prompting a response from Uriah Faber, who would discuss the difficulties of working with Dwayne.
I'm doing good. Like, at first, things were rough, for sure, like 100%. They weren't easy for me out here. And then making some decisions, some changes, and the team ended up, you know, we renegotiated our deals. It was a little bit different than what I thought it was. So we renegotiated in August, and the guys have been taking care of me. It's not for money. Although I don't make a lot of money in any one thing. Like, I don't make a lot of money from the team, but I do okay for the team. I do okay for my business. I do okay for my seminars, my other things. So together, I do good.
Dwayne did a great job running his practice, and he was passionate about his stuff. You know, we implemented a lot of his drills during our set practices, and it turned out great. But he was a little difficult to deal with here and there, and so actually it's kind of a breath of fresh air to have parted ways.
In what might seem like parting words, statements that explain a fairly innocuous and numerous situation in the world of MMA were actually the foundations of a rift to come that would split the gym in half. In those words from both parties were buried bitterness and resentment that would soon be uncovered. TJ would win his title a few days after Uriah's rebuttal, and Dwayne would leave Team Alpha Male forever, a short stint, but one that had noticeable, drastic improvements on the whole team. In the meantime, TJ would stay at Team Alpha Male, remaining their champion, but he had also actually bought a house in Colorado and would spend time outside of his actual fight camp with Dwayne. In terms of his MMA career though, it was announced that an immediate rematch with Burrell would be put together a couple months later in August, which made sense. It was a massive, unexpected upset, and Burrell was a dominant champion and deserved to have his chance at redemption. TJ would have Team Alpha Male's new head coach Martin Kampman in his corner, but also, surprisingly, Dwayne, signifying TJ's desire to still have Dwayne's coaching as a part of his athletic development. And it made sense. Dwayne was one of the men that had gotten TJ that strap wrapped around his waist in the first place. The fight rolled around quickly, but on the day of the weigh-ins, Burrell would be admitted into hospital. The weight cut had wrecked his body, and he was unable to fight. In one of the more controversial moves from the UFC, they would replace Burrell with a bantamweight from the prelims, Joe Soto. It was his UFC debut. He was on a 6-fight winning streak, and he was the former Bellator champion. It was just a surprise move, and probably the only one that could have been made at the time, many stating that Joe was simply a sacrificial lamb. The pay-per-view was considered one of the worst of all time, and was dubbed the haunted UFC card. Only 3 fights on the prelim, and 5 for the main card, making it the pay-per-view with the least amount of fights since 2007. TJ would step into the octagon and did what he was expected to do, dominating and finishing Joe in round 5. It was only after letting go, surrendering himself to fate, that the world would come back piece by piece. Years of suffering and agony, losing his prime years to injuries, offered Dominic freedom in a way that wasn't so obvious at first. It was only when he unshackled his self-imposed chains that health would find him, and a return fight was booked. A mirage on the horizon, a shimmer of gold awaiting his return, the light in the darkness.
He's a guy who's gone from being the champion to being ranked number 12. inactivity due to injury. It's one of the worst chains of events, one of the worst series of bad luck I've ever seen in all my years of watching UFC fights. I think that Dominic Cruz has faced more adversity in being injured than any other fighter we've seen in the history of mixed martial arts.
Dom, it's been over 1,000 days since you last fought. How does it feel to finally know that that weight is finally coming to an end?
I don't know really how to take it. I just have to take it one day at a time until I make weight, and now I'm just excited to be here.
You get an opportunity in this fight to see where Dominic Cruz is at. Mentally, what has this long layoff, what kind of toll has this taken on him? If he can beat number 6 ranked Takeo Mitsugaki, and if he can show the same skills that he had when he was the bantamweight champion of the world, he will do what no one has ever done before. Fight after a long layoff and get right back into title contention.
Is it weird not being here with a belt, though? It's been a while.
No, I mean, the belt's just a piece of metal. I still got it in my heart.
Still consider yourself the champion.
I still consider myself one of the best on the planet. I believe that about myself. If you don't, you're going to get your butt kicked in that cage, and then you will. You have to believe that about yourself.
Any reservations at all that you might not look like the same Dominic we saw 3 years ago?
I have no reservations of that at all.
There's a chance you might even be better.
I sure hope so. We're about to find out very soon. 2 days. I'm far from the old Dominic. A lot of things are better. You know, nothing's worse.
Amazing, most ferocious and spectacular version of Dominic Cruz we'd ever seen inside the octagon. Unfortunately, right after that fight, he blew his knee out again.
Bantamweight champion Dominic Cruz has suffered another ACL injury.
Frustrated injuries, the knee goes and it goes again.
This whole thing I'm being put through, all these tests, all these things, I'm being put through it because I'm the one who's tough enough to handle it.
It is still so unbelievable, even in revisiting these events, to see how Dom's career had been playing out. The mental toughness that man must have had, truly unbelievable. After all the hard work, all that suffering, and the most incredible comeback. And now here he was, right back in the same spot, injured, and another title shot opportunity ripped away from him. The sport, ruthless and unemotional, had no time to dwell on his circumstance. The UFC was quick to move on from the Dom and TJ fight, and with no one else to fall to, chose to put Barao back into title contention. And as TJ to prove that the first win wasn't a fluke, Hennen was offered redemption. After some reshuffling due to an injured shoulder on TJ's part, the fight was expected to take place in July of 2015 at UFC on Fox 16. And if you thought that the drama between Dwayne and Team Alpha Male had subsided in the years since Ludwig's departure as head coach, well, you'd be dead wrong. Dwayne, for some reason, would fan the flames of the rift by taking to Sirius XM to claim that TJ was the only fighter on the Team Alpha Male roster who wanted to win a title. He also implied that if Chad Mendes had done his camp in Colorado with him, then he would have beaten Jose Aldo for the title 5 months previously. Talk about rubbing salt into the wound.
What separates him from the rest of the very talented guys out there?
He actually wants it. TJ is the only one that actually wants to be a champion. TJ trains a lot harder, a lot more focused than anybody else on the team. He wants it. You know, there's just certain people that want it more than others. If she has a stronger drive, a stronger determination, he actually believes he can be champion. He's going to put the match to work, ask the questions, trains a bit harder, takes less breaks. He's the only guy that I told. He actually did feel work really hard as well. Then he overtrains himself. TJ is very smart on how he trains as well. And it's just a difference if you see the whole Alpha team train and TJ sticks out. Chad, I'll tell you what, no one needs me, but everyone that works with me is going to do better with me than without me, that's for sure. And I feel with Power Camp and with Steve, Chad could be winning the belt, be wearing the belt right now. I mean, there's a couple of things that Chad could be doing, and he could be wearing the belt right now.
It of course sparked a response out of the alpha male entourage, who took to Twitter to cast down Dwayne's aspersions. In response, Dwayne would ultimately apologize, but not back down on the fact that the fighters would be better off training with him at his camp in Colorado.
Well, you said on SiriusXM that TJ is the only member of Team Alpha Male that really wants to be a champion. Do you regret saying these comments?
You know, I don't regret it, because ultimately, if you want something, you figure out a way to make it happen. No one trains as intense or as focused as TJ, period. I mean, there's champions and then there's champions. TJ wants to be the best in the world, not the best of another organization, the best fighter in the world. But Chad can be wearing the belt right now. There's a couple of things that he needs to fix, and he can be wearing the belt right now.
But this interview just served to open up the floodgates, and now everyone descended into taking shots at each other.
Dwayne, like, half-heartedly, delusionally tried to sue the team. So they said, you know, dysfunction follows the guy, and the guy's your bully. And Dwayne is getting, like, free peanut butter, you know? And so, you know, when he starts selling peanut butter at the front desk at our gym, right? The blatant, like, ex-girlfriend mentality, like, crazy ex-girlfriend of, like, trying to break the team down is just bizarre to me. I don't get it.
You know, Dwayne's not part of Team Alpha Male. You know, this is a team that I'm going to be a part of, so I'm completely done fighting, and probably after. You know, I owe everything to Team Alpha Male. And Dwayne was a small, tiny little part of that. And, you know, I just hate that so many people are assuming that Dwayne completely made our team. Just tired of hearing it.
Well, you were there when everyone was a big, happy family, and then Dwayne Ludwig came in, and...
Best at all, comfortable to be some racist jokes sometimes, you know, you guys come and fight like black, you know, or something like Latino, you make some uncomfortable jokes.
Dwayne calls me and wants more money, and I said, then he's back at the gym and he's getting his salary, and then he starts charging everybody for private. There's a point where TJ's like, man, I don't know what to do, man. Dwayne's like, leave me. So I'm like, I feel bad for the guys.
What was a strange scenario this week with, you know, your coach Dwayne Ludwig talking? How big of a distraction has that been?
Not at all for me. I mean, for one, I know it's taken out of text a little bit. You know, with him, it's just that he believes he's the best, you know, just like I believe I'm the best, and he thinks that people should be working with him if they have the opportunity, you know, and they're just, in his eyes, they're not doing so. So, I mean, it's just different personalities, you know, I mean, I'm using him, he's the best coach in the world in my eyes, you know, I mean, I got the best team at home, and so I gotta juggle both things, but also not choose sides, you know?
And I guess that's what characterized this whole spectacle. TJ was just stuck in the middle between his friends and his family back at Team Alpha Male and the coach that he believed would propel him to be one of the best fighters in the world. TJ simply wanted to be better, but loyalty, ego, and money wedged their way in. And despite what was best for the athletes, animosity took to the forefront, and for the second Barao fight, he would split his camp between both Sacramento and California. It was a choice that would ultimately pay off in the short term. He would once again destroy Barao, putting aside any thoughts that he was lucky in their first outing. But long term, the damage was done, and a few short months later, one man would put the final nail in the coffin of TJ's time at Team Alpha Male. Uriah had found himself coaching alongside Conor McGregor at The Ultimate Fighter Season 22. Conor, who had been paying attention to the whole drama, took the opportunity to open the cracks of the camp even wider.
TJ's here with us.
Here with us?
Yeah, me too. Got a snake in the grass, and he's a little snake in the grass.
For Conor to like act like he knows what our situation is bizarre.
He's a little weasel. You got Dwayne with him? Him and Ryan, come on, take over the show.
People like this world, people who bite the hand that feeds them. I cannot relate to that in any way, shape, or form.
Nah, there's a little snake in the grass right there. Some little boy. You doing? You lost? Yeah. That's why you were not giving your coach Dwayne. Right, and then I will go to shoot. So I think Dwayne's a snake. What, you gonna do something about it? What are you gonna do? Do something there. Do something there. Do something there.
In what was a surprise to everyone, besides McGregor, TJ would announced his departure from the team just a few weeks after the airing of the show, choosing instead to train full-time with Dwayne Ludwig in Colorado. It would further cement McGregor's cleric ability in memes and YouTube videos for predicting the eventual fallout between both parties, but to anyone who was truly paying attention, The inevitability of the situation was obvious. The only strange thing is that TJ managed to walk away from the situation branded as a snake in the grass and the villain of the entire situation. For TJ, he had made what he thought was the right choice, choosing his career and himself before loyalty to a singular team. Faber would also fairly quickly close the door to the student he pulled out of college, ending TJ's chapter at Team Alpha Male.
Hey, let's get my boy TJ Dillashaw in here to take care of my dirty work now, and we're out.
Because he's a snake in the grass. And I told you after the face, you brought him into the tough, thinking he was there to help you, and he was there to help him. He's a snake in the grass and lives for you. You need to figure that out, stop it. Yeah.
Right blew out. I had another year off after that music documentary. And I remember I was on a boat, you know, I was 175 pounds fat, out of shape, trying to just resting my body, getting my, it had been exactly 7 months since my surgery. And they asked me to fight at the 9-10 month mark, which meant that I would have been 100%. And Sean Shelby asked me if I wanted that fight. And I remember I was drinking beers on a boat. I'm literally on antidepressants at the time. Fat, miserable. In that fight, I remember I was kind of hammered, so I was like, yes, I'll kill him, let's go. And then I get out, done with that day, and I'm like, holy shit, I just broke the fight, and I got really fat.
The cracks that toughened the subsequent departure of TJ split open were about to widen as it was announced that Dillashaw would be defending his title against the consensus bantamweight GOAT Dominic Cruz, who was making his comeback after another year sidelined due to injuries. Dominic's long history of Team Alpha Male had made him perfectly suited to rub salt into the wounds of a fractured camp. The media package that the UFC subsequently delivered was some of the funniest stuff you'd imagine. Dominic's sharp wit and devilish tongue was just too much for TJ to handle. The fissures were most certainly being exposed by Cruz one minute detail at a time.
TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz are pretty much very evenly matched, and it really could go either way on Sunday. What do you expect the final outcome will be?
It's what makes this fight so fun. You know, Dominic Cruz has never lost the belt. You know, he had injuries and had to give it up. And Dillashaw has been ripping through everybody who, you know, Dominic Cruz would have had to fight. So it's the most important fight we've ever had in the bantamweight division.
He's just a talker, man. You know, he's just gonna try to organize this because I don't need to.
Why?
Because I don't want to.
I think you're scared to talk because you don't want to say what you're going to do because you're scared to eat your words.
I'm done talking to you.
You can't be done talking to me. You're right here facing me, dummy. You gotta talk to me. You have no choice. You got nowhere to go. Keep talking.
Talked a big game about him being a martial artist and Mr. Nice Guy, but the truth down inside is he's a real you know, I mean, he's fake.
You know, to be the man, you gotta beat the man. So for Dillashaw, he's gotta beat Cruz, and for Cruz wants to solidify that he's the greatest ever in that weight division.
So Faber wasn't relevant?
No.
He was your teammate?
He's not.
But you've always been beating him up, right? You've always been beating up all your teammates, huh?
Yeah, I've been doing a great job, yeah.
You're fake, man. You're a fake person. You pretend to be cool with people, but you're not. And that's why I don't mind talking to you, because you're fake. You're not real, man. You're like Mr. Nice Guy, but it's not real.
Can't come soon enough, man. I'm ready to shut this guy's mouth.
I think that, you know, his best shot at beating me is to go ahead and drop somebody else out of the corner and keep Dwayne and go up to Colorado and hope that he can have his sensei time up there with Dwayne over here, because if he's got Faber anywhere near that corner, he's going to have a bad night. And that's been proven. I've proven it before. I think Dwayne would agree with me, wouldn't you?
As he fanned the flames, Uriah took the opportunity to wedge himself in and start a campaign for a title shot over whoever the winner was.
Dude, we're friends if you want to be friends. Is Zuba going to let us not fight each other? I think that's probably not going to happen. You know, on top of that, Mayweather should probably tell him, you leave the team, now you can fight Uriah. That's the biggest fight in the division, period.
Is this a fight you're comfortable as far as skill versus skill is concerned?
Absolutely.
The build-up to this fight proved that Team Alpha Male had truly left TJ behind, and both sides were willing to exchange barbs in order to discredit the other, much to the amusement of Dominic, who continued to stoke the fire.
Thing is, it doesn't surprise me because there can only be one. And, you know, TJ said it himself that in his mind he's been beating up Faber for years. He said that. I didn't say it, he did. And then you got Ludwig also in the mix for a second.
Where Ludwig wants to be the coach. He wants to be the guy who invented TJ Dillashaw. He wants to be the guy who invents all these guys at Alpha Male, makes them better. There can only be one yet again. So it was a matter of time before that whole thing fell apart because they were just a bunch of meatheads trapped in one room.
It was kind of remarkable to see the Dominator set to make his comeback after almost 5 years without a title fight. The majority of that time spent injured. Not only was he returning, but he was doing so at the highest conceivable level, the top of the division, and taking on a man who had claimed the throne in his absence. The narrative going into the fight, unsurprisingly, was one of ring rust and one of age. Dom had lost the best years of his career on the sidelines, and returning to take on a champion after so long away is considered nothing short of impossible, something that the oddmakers agreed with, Dom coming in as the underdog on the night. But for those who are listening, Cruz in those years had built a mentality carved from stone. He had gone to a place very few people will in a lifetime, and had returned with an unbreakable spirit, and so now testing his mettle against a Team Alpha Male prodigy, and a man who styled his fighting patterns after himself, wasn't going to be some cathartic end to a long and arduous journey. No, he was simply the embodiment of the journey there, a manifestation of those long depressed nights broken by the sport he loved. That road from years of setbacks to stepping into the octagon, finally healed in mind, spirit and body, was the actual achievement. Beating TJ was destined to be a footnote. Dillashaw, on the other hand, needed to prove that his unceremonious departure from Team Alpha Male was truly worth it, and chasing Dwayne to Colorado was the right decision. With a win over Dominic, he could shut up the naysayers and all those fans who had turned against him for abandoning his team. But I guess more importantly, a win over Dominic would more than likely push him to the forefront of any bantamweight GOAT discussion, and so all that was left to do was to fight.
The injuries, the ups and downs, the setbacks, can you put into words, 3 days out, what's going through your mind?
The goal of this whole process that I've gone through is to evolve, because that's the only option I had, was to either sit in sorrows and be sad that I lost some prime years, or use them to the best of my ability to become a better man, and then see what that gets me at the end of it. Here I am. I'm getting ready to put it all to a test and against a good opponent.
I have TJ Dillashaw winning the fight. Look, Dominic Cruz has fought once in 4 years. What he's attempting to do is something we've never seen in this sport.
Nobody can take away what I know I've done to prepare for this fight. Nobody can say that I'm not ready and I can't win. I know the amount of work and dedication and sacrifice I put into this time.
Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw. Emotions running very high. Takedown. Big takedown for Cruz. First takedown of the fight. Dominic's got his back. Good right hand to body hold. Cruz with a left hand. Short check hook.
There couldn't be any more truth to the words Rogan used when starting the post-fight interview with Cruz after winning the belt. In the greatest career comeback the sport had ever seen, Joe spoke of Cruz's enduring odyssey. He spoke of how Cruz had been tested mentally, tested in his resolve and resilience. Dominic had come back from one of the darkest places an athlete can descend to, everything taken away from him over the course of a grueling and destructive 4 years. Every step forward was...
I just love the holidays, don't you? It's the perfect time for chocolate cake and yellow cake. My favorites growing up. Mama always said there's nothing like sharing sweets with family to make the season bright.
Was met with 2 backward steps, but it was only after letting go that the universe began to make sense. loosening that grip of control, of frustration, of high expectations. That was the path to freedom. Dom shows us that after losing everything, it is possible to strive valiantly back to the top, utilizing persistence, will, and courage. And as Dom lifted the leather strap glinting aureate weaves under the stadium lights to a crowd of cheering onlookers, he was finalizing a long and arduous journey back from the pits of despair, a place that has swallowed many men and never let them return. He did so whilst at the same time shunting down another challenger that had once hailed from the gym walls of Team Alpha Male, another victim of Dom's ruthless culling of a team that seemingly would not leave the division. Dominic may have been absent from the fight game, but his performance proved that time under the bright lights does not determine success. Ring rust, merely a subjective anchor chained to the mentality of fighters, more willing to romance with excuses over fact. TJ was left in disbelief at the decision, but a close fight is often forgotten by the short-lived memory of fans, and by the time the ink dries on the history books, it reads as a loss. In fairness to Dillashaw, the judges, the media, and fans did not have a consensus decision. No one could truly agree on who won that fight, but the scorecards read the only truth history is concerned with the dominator on top of the division. Is one of those times that the sport reminds us that at the heart of it lies a ruthless and merciless honesty, a binary truth. You either win or you lose. Ones and zeros that transcribed from a remorseless reality. TJ's time atop the bantamweight division had come to an end at the hands of a man who had spent his best career beating up his former teammates. Dom and TJ's intersection in this story runs the gamut of the thrill and the agony of this sport. Two tales splintering in opposite directions. But now, it was once again the Dominator's time atop the division, and he wasn't quite finished with the squad hailing from California. Team Alpha Male was still desperately clinging on in the top echelon of the division, and in the build-up to the fight with TJ, Uriah had been setting himself up for a shot at the title since losing to Burrell 2 years previously. Uriah had gone 3-0 at bantamweight, and after the fallout between him and TJ, he'd been pushing for a shot at the winner of the matchup. Whether it was his old rival or his ex-student, it didn't matter. Uriah wanted gold, but now with Dominic walking away the victor, it only made sense considering the long and eventful history between the pair to finally put an end to a decade-long rivalry.
Cruz, you gotta give it to him. I mean, what a journey he's been on. He's a real champion. He's a true champion. Let's do it, Dom. This has been a long time coming. I've been sticking around a couple extra years just to let you heal up, buddy. You're not made for battle.
I don't even want to talk about that guy. I'm still talking about him.
Years of competition, and still fate had kept both Dom and Faber in close orbit, and now as chance would have it, they were destined to collide one final time. Cruz, in spite of the fact that he had been sidelined for so long, was finally healthy, and he wanted a quick turnaround, and the UFC were more than willing to provide him the matchup, and so just 5 months later, the two were set to clash for the final time. And if you thought that the hatred and bitterness would have quelled in the many years since this rivalry had played out, then you would be dead wrong.
Yeah, already the talk has begun for a rubber match, of course, with you. And when they told this to Cruz, he said, let's get him out of my face first, and out of the way, so I can continue to clean out the division.
I mean, for the last 10 years, the only thing that they've been talking about with me is a fight with Cruz.
The co-headliner on UFC 199 on June 4th will be the Dominator, Dominic Cruz, completing his trilogy against the California Kid, Uriah Faber.
This is a 10-year rivalry. I gotta deal with this guy, man. Unbelievable. I think we probably have the oldest rivalry in the sport
It's
right
kind
now.
of weird. It's like when you dislike somebody, it's weird how they just stay around you. So you didn't rock me 3 times. These are all your own assessments of what happened in that fight.
Watch the fight.
You're
Everybody at home watch
completely
the fight.
delusional about everything. That's how you get through. You don't talk about what you do wrong. You only talk about what you think you do
They
right.
better separate us in a small room. That's bad news for him.
Anything short is to your advantage. That's for sure.
Are you a big tall guy, bud?
That's what's going to happen. While I was out for 4 years, if you're so good, why could you not come get us? 4 years I was gone. You didn't win.
Hey, I'm right here, brother.
Yeah, now
4
where were
years.
you for 4 years?
42 fights. I've been whooping.
Where were you?
Where were you?
I was out there working
Yeah,
with bananas. I retired.
You were working.
I retired. And I came back and won the belt against the guy that you were too scared to face. Because you know you can't beat him.
Yourself up like usual.
You zipping, man. Put a quarter in you, little guy.
Oh, what are you gonna do? Chase him down? Go.
Dominic Cruz came out the other side of the rubber match, the victor, finally putting to rest the Uriah Faber rivalry, solidifying the fact that he was indeed the better fighter, and that, more than likely, he was inexperienced, and the moment that had led to his first outing ending the way it had, it was a bittersweet moment for fight fans, as one of the longest and storied rivalries that have ever graced the sport drew to a close, Dominic remaining the undefeated bantamweight, and Uriah losing his would-be last shot at championship glory. All those years of chasing each other across weight divisions and sitting on the sidelines injured had culminated in a decisive victory for the dominator, but Team Alpha Male wasn't finished with Cruz, and the same night that the conflict had finished, pundits and fighters alike were already expecting Dom to accept a matchup with another member of Team Alpha Male that had been surging through the division, Cody Garbrandt. Dominic Cruz and Uriah Faber had inspired many athletes to tread valiantly into the melting pot of MMA, and it didn't take long for them to not only catch up, but start stepping on their toes. One such man would start his professional career in MMA in 2012, but his story was one of the most dramatic, inspiring, and juxtaposed this division will ever offer, and it starts in a small town in the USA, 1991. Eurotsville, Ohio, a husk of a town, and a breeding ground for alcohol, drugs, and violence. It's a place that saw Cody grow up fatherless, as his dad spent stint after stint in jail.
He's still in prison.
Oh, he still is?
Yeah, he's still in prison.
A household without a father meant the two brothers were constantly at each other's throats.
He gave my left cauliflower ear. Yeah, my left ear. He hit me so hard my ear swelled with cauliflower.
Cody's mother felt that the constant fighting and abuse was energy that needed to be spent in a different way, lest her boys continue down a darker path. This would lead to Cody being enrolled in his local wrestling squad, there to expend all that pent-up anger and resentment, there to remedy that aimlessness. It was an opportunity that would distance Cody from the same fate as his estranged father and all those lost youths around him in his community. Cody took to the sport in spectacular fashion, rising to state champion as a freshman, a truly extraordinary feat and a glimpse into the athletic success to come. But it was a title that Cody would be unable to recapture. That inability to perform at his best due to injury and level of competition was something that ate away at Cody, and soon he would succumb to the pervasive, toxic lifestyle that emanated from the cracks of his desperate hometown. Pulled in by the wrong crowd, he would fall victim to drugs and alcohol. This mixture of substance misuse and the darkness of a failing wrestling career sat heavy on Cody, and it took him down a path that many fear most.
I was a teenager. I was a senior in high school. I wanted to become a state champion again. I won state as a freshman. I got beat as a sophomore. I was injured as a junior. Wrestling was something I did my whole entire life. I think losing the passion for that and having a drive just felt unaccomplished. And I got in with a wrong crowd. Started doing some drugs and partying and kind of living super carelessly. And it almost consumed my life. For a while, I wasn't who I was. I was in a dark, very dark place. Very, very dark place. And almost, myself and my brother came in the door and he saved my life.
Cody's brother, through sheer luck, had saved him from one of his darkest moments. In those depths, he would accept that there was no chance of pursuing wrestling, so Cody would find a new sport, one that brought passion back to his life.
Early on. Oh, and there's a big right. And Cody, this is over. It's over.
Cody would have a start in MMA as an amateur by going 4-2. Not exactly the incredible jump to the top that he was looking for, but he was essentially a street fighter, untrained and rough around the edges. But underneath was a diamond. In his hometown, he was becoming a little bit bit of a minor celebrity, which would lead to a chance encounter that would change the trajectory of Cody's life irrevocably. He would meet a young boy that would show him that the life he so nearly chucked away was worth fighting for. Maddox Maple, a 5-year-old who was having his life ripped away from him, but not by choice.
So, hey man, you should hear about the Maddox family, the Maple family. And I was like, no, I didn't. And they explained it to me. It was the family, this 5-year-old was diagnosed with leukemia. And, you know, it's like, it hit me just right in the feel good.
He had been battling leukemia for 2 years as it ravaged his body. Countless cycles of chemotherapy, leaving sores in his mouth and down his throat the size of quarters. It was no surprise that he had finally had enough. He didn't want to fight anymore. The crushing tide of relentless therapy had drowned any last semblance of hope. He wanted to die. But his family needed him to carry on fighting despite the horrors. That's when they decided to call in the help of a local fighter to help him in the battle.
And so I come there and I see this little kid and he looks, just his whole world is 360, spun around and, was going in for a burst of appendix, he thought.
Wow.
So, he's got a trach report in his chest and he's getting his first dose of chemo.
Do you remember that day when you first met Cody and what was going through your head at all? I know it's a while.
I kind of remember. I remember when he walked in, I was a little nervous because I saw this big guy with tons of tattoos and what? Who is this?
I look at the kid and I'm like, man, this kid, he had big, beautiful eyes and but I just felt he had that look. You see that look before battle? And that glossed over look like determination. Focus.
Maddox and his inspiring fight through the agonizing and exhausting battle with cancer was an experience that showed Cody his own demons can be fought and defeated, that life isn't something that should just be chucked away just because it's difficult.
This is a little kid that had no choice but to wake up every day and battle for his life. If he could find the inner strength to do that, I could wake up every day and I got so much inspiration and motivation through his fight and his battle that he went through that propelled me to stay motivated, stay focused, and even at sometimes the curveballs come, just to stay balanced, just know that it's life's a marathon, not a sprint. So he really showed me that at a young age. Forever grateful for his fight, his strength that he showed that helped me out along my way.
And so they made each other a pact, a promise made between two warriors, an inseparable bond tied together by an almost unattainable dream. If Maddox promised to beat cancer, then Cody would become a UFC champion. No small feat for a man so young in his MMA career. But Cody and Maddox, imbued with a new drive, fought on.
Hey, after the order needs to move. This is an onslaught of government.
After going 5-0 in his professional career, Cody would get one of the most important phone calls of his life. He was headed to the UFC.
Try to finish this fight right here. Bring it back up for out. Bring is out on his feet, Mike. Oh, it's a finish. Who thinks he'll stop it? Cody Garbrandt. Stop Marcus Bridge.
In a little over a year, from 2015 to 2016, Cody had won his first 4 fights in emphatic fashion, finishing 3 of his opponents by a knockout, putting on display his otherworldly speed that really defined his fighting style, something that had been honed by his time with Team Alpha Male and Uriah Faber. And even now when I watch back his fights, it's just so insane how quick he was. The fans received him gratefully as well. He had a unique look, he was young, and he was knocking everyone out. And what more could fans want? And more importantly, what more could Dana White want? With Team Alpha Male supporting him, he was surely destined for greatness. Less than 3 months after Cody's win over Almeida, the UFC would pair the young fighter up against Takeya Mizugaki, a man that both Uriah and Dominic had beaten. In Cody's eyes, this was the UFC giving him the quickest path to the title.
The reason they gave me this fight seemed clear. If I could beat Mizugaki, the UFC would let me fight Dominic Cruz for the belt. I FaceTimed Maddox to share the news. This is it, I told him. This is my shot. If I win this, you'll be walking me out for the title match next. When you win this, Maddox quickly corrected me. I'll be walking you out to win the title match next.
The fight with Mizugaki rolled around. August 20th in Las Vegas, Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz headlining one of the best-selling pay-per-views of all time in their highly anticipated rematch. Cody and De Gea secured themselves as the featured bout on the prelims, an extremely coveted spot for any fighter in their career. That spot on the card would certainly have the most eyes on it. Dana was tactically moving his pieces on the chessboard. He saw a young star in Cody and was giving him every helping hand he could. Backstage before the fight, Dom and Cody would cross paths, an altercation that would further cement the idea that if Garbrandt won that night, then he would be the next to face the greatest bantamweight of all time. In the locker room, before the biggest fight of Cody's life up until that point, Garbrandt's team would huddle for a prayer, a ritual that had carried the bantamweight through his undefeated rise.
I asked Maddox, which hand should I knock Mizugaki out with? And he said, you're right. Cody would keep his promise. Just 40 seconds into the fight, he would land a devastating right hand. Cody would follow him down to the mat, landing several unanswered punches in a flurry. Just 8 seconds later, Big John McCarthy would be pulling Cody away, still undefeated, and now the next in line for a title shot.
Cody would cement this by calling out Dominic Cruz in a post-fight interview. Dom was working the event as an analyst high up in the stadium. Cody looked up to him and said,
"Come on, Dominic Cruz, where you at? That's not bouncing with you. I'm gonna break your jaw. I was gonna hear your daddy is for real."
It was a matchup that Dominic more than welcomed. Another opportunity for him to beat down on his old rival's squad. The UFC didn't want to miss out on cashing in on the storyline either, and just 2 months later, confirmed that at UFC 207 in December of that year, the pair would battle it out for the title, seemingly Team Alpha Male's last chance of defeating their longtime rival. But it was more than that for Cody. This was his opportunity to fulfill his side of the promise for Maddox, and the universe was doing everything in its power to align the two to their greatest goal.
Maddox celebrated another milestone, his first year with no chemo, and his second year of remission. Just 3 more to go until he won the ultimate battle and got himself declared cancer-free. With Maddox making such great progress and sticking to his end of the deal, Cody was only a couple of months away from fulfilling his.
After losing to Dominic Cruz and thrusting his prodigy into the title picture, Uriah would return to competition quickly. In the pay-per-view preceding the one that hosted Garbrandt's win over Takeya Mizugaki, Uriah would return to take on Jimmy Rivera, but would unfortunately drop a unanimous decision loss. With 2 defeats in a row, he would make his retirement plans for a card taking place in his hometown of Sacramento. Uriah had accepted that dropping off with the sport in a slow fade-out was not the path that he wanted to take. He would rather finish on a high, ranked in the top echelon of the sport and in the town that he was raised. He would have his wish, a picture book ending defeating legendary UK fighter Brad Pickett and leaving his gloves in the octagon, a final waltz. He would leave the sport just 2 weeks before his student, Cody, would face Dom for the title, and for that, there was no better legacy for the California kid, a man who had shaped the sport for smaller athletes, a man who had been the catalyst for years of drama and the mentor for dozens of top-ranking championship-caliber athletes. His legacy as a pioneer of the sport was undeniable, and to see him go out on a win was a meaningful moment, and one not seen for most MMA practitioners who have their careers ended after lengthy loss streaks. But his retirement night would have one more poignant moment, a beautiful and fitting end to a storyline.
I started this thing out at 21 years old. 2007, I came in pajama pants because they were all I could afford walking in there. Definitely couldn't afford a haircut. If you watch that, I look like White Christmas out there. But got a little gift here for you, man. You know, just to bring it out, just to keep it real. You know, this is the thing. It started with that. And it's not going to end like that, you know? I would say you could write on my face, but guess what? It's not on there. It's not. It's just signed, man.
There it is.
Your pal,
All
from me
right.
to you, man. And that's it. Nothing crafty, nothing mean. Just
I
laying it to
appreciate it,
rest.
Dom.
Laying it
I
to rest,
appreciate it,
man.
Dom.
That's
Well,
it.
hey, thank you guys. I mean, I feel like I've been so blessed to be on this journey, and I've learned so much, and I feel like I've inspired people. I've been inspired, and just been thinking bigger. I want to thank, you know, the folks at UFC, the new owners, the Lorenzo and Frank and Dana. They've always treated me with such respect and sent me out like a champion, so I appreciate it. Dom used it. I used to think he was acting like a baby, but he did use it for motivation. He's doing good now. I hope he can keep it all together after the fight with Cody.
So you're gonna give him a party shot on the way out, please?
We're gonna get him a reservation at the hospital.
The industrial grade products you need. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Siblings never get you. Until they do.
From one poster to 10 years of rivalry, the dust had finally settled on the two men who had made a weight class, their stories weaving in and out of one another, their losses fueling their championship and Hall of Fame earning careers, their wins, life-defining moments, etched into the history books of mixed martial arts. Strange how one moment, one poster, could be the catalyst for waves of cause-altering history, the highs and lows of bantamweights orbiting two giants that had propelled a weight class into the stratosphere. A poster, a piece of history, a glimpse into time itself, and its legacy is slowly fading from memory as new challengers arise to the throne. And so for Cruz, there was one more man hailing from Team Alpha Male to put down an ending chapter of sorts to a great and enduring odyssey, the final curtain call that was just 2 weeks away.
I never had a chase pussy in my life on December 30th. I ain't doing it. I don't have to.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? We'll see.
So keep your fling on the string, keep your mouth shut. This is big boy
I'll
business.
go across it right now. You're here, a room away.
Okay, come over here.
Yeah.
Come on, Turd. Let's go.
You coming?
You coming, little boy? Because he has to be a self-perceived savage. So a savage can't do this specifically. This is what an alpha, a savage does. He gets mad, he gets angry, and he knocks things out and breaks things and forces things. But with a guy like me, you gotta use a different approach, and that's what he's gonna find out.
I'm staying in Vegas, so excited that I can knock you down.
It's gonna be fun.
It is.
I train hard so I kick this guy's butt, right?
Yeah, kick his butt, please.
I will.
Love you.
Love you too, buddy. Mabel was 5 years old and diagnosed with leukemia and fought his ass to be able to walk me down here and for me to finally be able to do this for him.
Team Alpha Male had finally produced a man to take out Dominic, in what is perhaps one of the greatest performances in a title fight by any challenger. Cody Garbrandt, imbued with an otherworldly essence, was propelled to victory by an impossible dream to claim the belt and place it in the hands of a cancer survivor, a pact between a man and a young boy, one to become a champion and the other to beat a deadly disease, the fulfillment of which, transpired on one of the grandest stage the earth has to offer, is one of the most inspiring and beautiful stories the sport will ever know. Dominic Cruz, unfortunately the byproduct of fate-fulfilling dreams.
My championship fight wasn't about the fight itself. In fact, it wasn't even my fight. Of course it wasn't. That championship was about something maybe bigger than any championship fight in the UFC had ever been about. As proud and happy as I am to fulfill my lifelong vision, I was way happier and more proud about what happened next. When the fight was over, I pulled Maddox into the octagon. I put that now not so little boy in the center of the spotlight for all the world to see, and I gave that belt to him. It had been for him all along. Maddox had helped me to find the strength to change my life. We both fulfilled our pact.
What can you do, man? I mean, this is part of it, is losing. Part of life is losing. I think everybody here can say, one time or another, maybe not in a fight, but you felt like a loser. And how do you come back from it? Let's see, you know, I know myself. I've lost before.
Dominic had gone just shy of 10 years without tasting defeat inside of the octagon, and to say his reaction to falling foul once more, especially to a man from Team Alpha Male, was anything but humble would be an understatement. He was quickly critical and analytical of his performance, and immediately ready to move past it. See, whilst his record was nearly perfect up until that point, his life outside of it, as we know, was anything but. Those moments of death and rebirth on the other side of the chain-link fence of the octagon and set him up to handle loss with grace and honesty as wins and losses spread over decades traversed all the highs and lows of bantamweight and Team Alpha Male history. The next few years following Dominic's first loss in the UFC and Cody's inconceivable undefeated rise to the throne would show that this sport is undoubtedly the most ruthless game any athlete can play, a cruel mistress with a kiss of unmatched death. Cody's journey from an undefeated pro through to claiming the title with Maddox in tow is one of the most inspiring stories this video will offer. A dark beginning, a dramatic middle, and a triumphant end. It was, and always will be, the perfect story. The problem with life, however, is that it doesn't have a beginning, middle and end, all perfect and wrapped up. The sun must always rise, and when it does, it brings with it something unexpected. Cody had stamped his place in the division in emphatic fashion, dispatching the consensus goat of the bantamweights in a performance that some have considered perfect.
Cody Garbrandt, the night he beat Dominic Cruz, became the world champion, in my opinion, is the best 135-pound fighter the world has ever seen.
He had done this whilst rising out of the palpable darkness of a failed wrestling career, all the while fulfilling an impossible pact with a cancer survivor is one of the most beautiful and moving stories this sport has to offer, but the universe had been laying the foundations of a fall to match that meteoric rise. All paths now lay toward one man, TJ Dillashaw, a former teammate and a man despised by Cody and his entourage. Since Dominic Cruz's comeback securing the title from TJ Dillashaw and continued his curl of Team Alpha Male with mixed success, TJ, the entire time, would have to third wheel all the way back to his title shot. His split decision loss to Dominic was extremely controversial, and many felt that he had easily deserved to get an immediate rematch. But alas, he would have to secure his #1 contender spot in a rematch against Rafael Assunção, a fight that would take place on the historic UFC 200 event. Tucked away on the prelims, TJ would handily outclass the man who had previously beaten him, and by doing so, would cement his place as the next in line for the title shot, calling out Cruz in his post-fight interview.
I should already fought for the title. I want my belt back. I feel like it's rightfully mine anyways. I feel like I won that fight, so I think I'm ready for it now.
It was clearly the fight to make, and people were fully expecting the announcement to come through the letterbox imminently. The problem was that the UFC had their new bantamweight Conor McGregor that they were pushing extremely hard. To rub salt into TJ's open wound, they would ask the former champ to warm up the seats of bloodthirsty fans by taking on #2 ranked John Lineker in the fight preceding the bantamweight title matchup at UFC 207. TJ wasn't exactly impressed at being sidelined again.
You get a little bitter about it, you get a little pissed off that things don't go the way that they're supposed to, you know? That's just being a sport and training my butt off, training 6 hours a day to be the best in the world and then not being treated like it, you know? To win his big fight, beating Rafael Assunção on an 8-fight win streak, ranked #2, and not getting my title shot, you know? But I'll continue to do my job, I'll keep beating the best guys and keep a smile on my face and just enjoy what I do.
Dillashaw would handle business though, outclassing the #2 man in the world and making his intentions known in his post-fight interview.
If I don't get the title fight next, we know it's rigged, you know, and they're trying to screw me on purpose.
There really was no denying TJ's right to fight for the title next. I guess the thing that TJ probably wasn't expecting was that the man that he would be calling out was his former teammate, and a man that he knew well. It was an easy sell for the UFC, ex-teammates turned rivals, yet they would still actually offer Cruz the immediate rematch, something that he would ultimately turn down. Thankfully, because I think if TJ got snubbed again, we would be getting a sequel to Falling Down. As a fan of the fighters during this period, it really was the best matchup. TJ versus Cody promised entertainment. Over the last few years, the split between TJ and Team Alpha Male was a storyline that had been plastered all over social media and news outlets. For whatever reason, fans and fighters alike had a vested interest in the progression of this narrative, and the matchup promised to take the feud to nuclear levels. The UFC weren't playing games. Not only did they announce the bout, but they also doubled down, making the pair coaches of the Ultimate Fighter Season 25. TUF seemed like the perfect platform to exploit every single person involved in the situation, and true to form for a bunch of hot-headed alpha male fighters, the whole season delivered, just not in the way that you would expect. TJ, with no thanks to Connor, had managed to assume the title of the villain going into the show, and Cody, with his emphatic win over Dom, was quickly becoming a star. But the whole script was about to be flipped. The whole show was a scramble of insults, character assassinations, and slanderous statements from the alpha male camp that were attempting to impale TJ's already diminishing public perception on a spike, but all it did was backfire miserably. The show was a complete mess. No one walked away looking like a good guy, but what it did do was split public perception on who was actually in the wrong. Fans couldn't agree on anything. Lies, truth, and facts blurred into a hazy mirage of testosterone-infused propaganda. It became apparent that the story wasn't as simple as it seemed, and untangling the two different perspectives on who was right regarding TJ's departure and who was wrong, and everything in between was a fruitless task. Justin Buckles, the Team Alpha Male head coach, took a front seat in trading Barth with TJ and Dwayne, but the problem was, Justin was the very man that had encouraged TJ to move to Colorado in the first place. It was just madness. The years that had passed had clearly made all those men lose sight of what actually triggered them in the first place. Dwayne and Uriah had a little falling out, TJ got caught in the middle, and now Cody, the man that had threatened to knock out Connor for talking shit about him, was now snatching up Dillashaw by the neck. Alpha male walked away from the whole charade, looking incompetent.
Talk to the patch, Six. Mighty Patch pimple patches reveal clear-looking skin overnight. Pimple, meet your Mighty Patch.
And childish, in my opinion. I'd gone into the show with massive hype on Cody, and was kind of sad that he would be fighting another favourite of mine in TJ, as I didn't want either to lose. But this season just made me want to see TJ get some revenge. If the Ultimate Fighter TV show wasn't indicative of the bitterness to follow, then the weeks leading up to their fight certainly delivered, in manifesting every ounce of resentment between the two. Cody and Uriah still had one final dagger to deliver, one that they had been alluding to multiple times over the years, and that was TJ's inclination to cheap shot and be aggressive during practice, but what they had been referring to was much darker than a simple punch at the end of a round.
There's no secret about TJ's, I mean, we talked about it when he was still on the team also, that he had to be like reeled in a little bit, right? He's just got a temper.
That's why they call him Killshaw?
Yeah, Killshaw, Dillashank.
That's why Chris is out. You hit him in the back of the head.
Chris Holtzworth? That's where the injury came from?
I don't want to...
And I guess Chris choked him out, and TJ got out and plugged him in the back of the head.
When he was down on the mat.
When he was down on the mat.
A grappling match?
That is complete bullcrap. I mean, even just the way everything has gone down will prove that to you. So you're telling me that I'm beating people in the back of the head in between rounds and ruining their careers, but you want me to stay on your team?
Is it true that TJ Dillashaw is responsible for you having to retire? Did he in fact injure you?
That instinct that's out in the public is, yeah, definitely true.
The news served to vilify Dillashaw in ways that are hard to imagine. His legacy of being a sucker puncher in practice had finally caught up with him in the worst way possible. The fans didn't hold back in their resentment for it either, and heading into fight week for the media and press conferences, TJ would be booed and showered with chants of snake in the grass. Cody, on the other hand, being received like some kind of hero.
Let's ask you, TJ, is this more about that belt that's sitting on the other table right now?
He just needs the money, that's why he's here. You wanted to fight Mighty Mouse, that's why. He's a money fighter. The horse's mouth did not need Chris in the back of the head. Exactly. You're a cheap shot bastard.
I did not.
You did not, okay.
It's all happened at the perfect time. You know, when it came out, the week of the fight, like, come on, man, this is all super predictable.
Predictable.
No truth to it?
None whatsoever.
Right.
You can talk all you want, show your insecurity, show who you really are. We're gonna get out there, I'm gonna break your ass.
You can do all the conditioning in the world with your new coach. You can't condition that fucking chin of yours.
And you wouldn't believe it, but Team Alpha Male still had one more skeleton to drag out of the closet. TJ had denied allegations of being knocked out by Cody in practice, but they had the footage, and after consistent threats to release it,
this is the videotape of Cody knocking out TJ, and TMZ is trying to buy it for me for 50 grand.
They finally cracked a few days before the fight. The footage spoke for itself and seemed to solidify the fact that Cody that had destroyed Dominic was about to do the same to TJ.
Well, he may not have a belt at present, but for my money, this is still one of the best pound-for-pound mixed martial artists on the planet. The former UFC bantamweight king, now #2 in the world, TJ Dillashaw.
And Cody Garbrandt gladly carries
The alpha male flag on his back.
Dillashaw Cody Gauntlet, one of, if not the biggest UFC bantamweight championship fight this octagon has ever hosted. Garbrandt in the black and gold, the champion TJ Dillashaw, switching stances as usual.
We really don't know how hurt TJ still is. So right hand as well.
That's exactly what we got before.
TJ Dillashaw has done it! Dillashaw now a two-time UFC bantamweight champion!
I think because it went so long, this drama went on for so long, it was easy to kind of get by it. You know, it got real old after a while. You know, at first, yeah, you know, there's guys that you call to your best friends back in the day, they turn their back on you instantly. So, and that was a little hurt from the beginning, but like I said, it got real old real quick. It was easy to kind of get past it.
There are a few photos that go as hard as this one. Some things can never be expressed in words. It's so hard to empathize with what an athlete on top of this sport experiences, but it's easy to understand the feeling of conquering every demon imaginable on the grandest stage on earth. Screaming in the face of a man who had attempted to take everything from him, screaming at years of backstabbing, years of character assassination, and screaming at finally getting back the belt that he feels he had unfairly lost. It's a breathtaking photo, and it's a moment that will be with me, always. In the moment where it mattered most, he had snatched the crown from Cody, taking everything from Team Alpha Male, and once again returning to the throne. Cody had let his emotions betray him, not only in the build-up, but in the fight as well. After knocking TJ down in round 1, Cody would open up the second round taunting his former teammate, dancing in front of him, like he had done to Cruz, toying with his opponent, but on this side of the chain-link fence, the deadliest men prowl. And TJ is no man to be played with. Dillashaw took his time, recovered, and would turn the tide of the fight with a beautiful setup and a kick, taking instruction directly from his corner, landing the kick, whilst the crowd screamed, "Fuck you, TJ." And you know what? That made the whole thing even more beautiful. This whole saga had happened all because TJ had followed Dwayne to Colorado, and here in the fight where it mattered most, it was Dwayne's advice that had essentially won him the belt back, and nothing more could be said than that. It's simple and beautiful, poetic storytelling. Cody arrived at the post-fight press conference wearing a snakeskin suit. In victory, it would have been symbolic. In defeat, it was just kind of sad. What could have been, I suppose. Cody was rather level-headed after the fact. He wanted to get an immediate rematch, of course. TJ, on the other hand, was happy the whole thing was over and looked to leave the saga in the past. The fight was a massive success. It drew in massive numbers. Cody was still a star, and TJ was ever so marketable as a champion. A rematch was inevitable, and halfway through the next year, the pair would see themselves in the build-up to their second fight. But things were different. All that shit-talking and vitriol had somewhat faded. There was no intense back and forth. There was no Team Alpha Male gang wars. It seemed that Cody was focused on one thing, and that was getting the belt back. Opponent be damned. TJ was more than happy to let all the drama that had unfolded over the last several years take a backseat too. With a win over Cody for a second time, he would well and truly bury this saga that had been plaguing his career. Whilst fans may have wanted a bit of feud to extend into a second fight, for me it was actually kind of nice to see the two that were extremely likeable. Just let the sport do the talking, and not some mindless beef that had overplayed its welcome. Cody was in a tough spot though. Immediate rematches, especially for people who have never defended the title, are extremely risky. A second loss in a row against TJ could have lasting consequences that would distance him from the title for years. It was an incredibly important fight in many ways for both athletes.
Garbrandt in a world title.
TJ had managed to put himself in the crosshairs and be the fall guy for every fan and ex-teammates' animosity, and in the face of public scrutiny, he had stayed focused and driven. Without that fact, he surely would have faltered against Cody's relentless abuse and venom, but regardless of the palpable acrimony, Dillashaw emerged the other side of the fight as a champion, claiming back the belt he coveted so much, but also seemingly ending the feud with Team Alpha Male, while season 25 of Tough would serve to make the Alpha Male team look confused and directionless. In their animosity towards TJ, no one walked away from the saga looking like the good guy. TJ was ousted as an arrogant cheap shotter that put his own teammates' health at risk, and whilst Justin Buckles walked back some of the facts regarding the knee, it wasn't exactly a good look for TJ, and the whole of Team Alpha Male just looked so pathetic when you considered the whole beef could be boiled down to the crucifixion for TJ for simply changing camps, something fighters do all the time. It was a mindless witch hunt that ultimately destroyed the reputation of everyone involved. Friendships and mentorships were razed to ash, and all for naught but ego and money. For fans, the whole charade served as some mildly entertaining melodrama with a fist fight at the end of it. Needless to say, we live in a world where trash talk pulls at the seams of the truth, and undercutting opponents with deceit and treachery are rewarded with clicks and popularity. Whilst Cody, Uriah, and the rest of Team Alpha Male may have been haphazard when handling the truth, TJ remained cool and collected, and handled himself with care and diligence, emerging the other side of the rivalry with Cody and Team Alpha Male all the better for it. Now with the belt firmly around his waist, TJ's future looked extremely bright, and fans seemed to have warmed back to him now, legitimized with the strap. When the battle cries faded from the bowels of Team Alpha Male's gym, and fighters and trainers started parting ways with one another, the true extent of TJ's transgressions behind those gym doors was revealed. Justin Buckles revealed that Holdsworth receiving that knee wasn't exactly the reason that he retired professionally. The damage certainly overblown, and Cody walked back a lot of the resentment that he held over TJ, even later leaving Team Alpha Male himself. The team Alpha Male drama fizzled out quietly. The final muffled notes of a messy and scrambled symphony. Dom and Uriah had settled their differences, and the epilogue that Cody's and TJ's rivalry served as was naught but the crimson waves of a setting sun. The final to one of the most storied sets of events the sport will ever know. The screen fades to black, and the curtains draw.
The shit talking, the TV show, them accusing me of everything, like, you know, that took a lot, you know? And so for all that to be, like, taken off my shoulders was great.
You seem like such nice, friendly guys away from everything.
We have our moments of being nice, but we also have a very brutal moments. And it's at your best friend's expenses, so it makes it interesting and it keeps you humble.
Like I said from the beginning, there's no animosity on my side. You know, obviously, it gets old, all the trash talk and all the bullshit. You guys, you thought we friends, it does get old. But like I said from the beginning, there wasn't any animosity on my side. You know, I wasn't holding anything. It's a lot harder to fight.
The Team Alpha Male saga, as I like to call it, has run its course, and it is perhaps my favourite time to have lived through when watching this sport. As people who watch this channel know full well, no wonder I decided to start this entire history of series of videos with the bantamweights. But there is more to this division than just Team Alpha Male. In fact, really, it's only just begun. But before we get to it, here seems like the best place in this lengthy video to just close off Cody's story, because, as you probably already know, with what we're about to discuss, the division will ruthlessly continue to march onward, and in its wake, it leaves Cody to drown. Cody's downfall, if you will, is one of the worst fall-offs this sport has known, and unfortunately, there will be no good time to reflect on his career later in this video, so let's have a little chat about it now.
TJ, before the first matchup with Cody, had already called the fight before it was ever even announced.
It's going to be a hyped up fight, I already know it. He's going to try to get angry and get aggressive, but I'm just going to try to stay composed and have some fun out there.
He predicted the false anger and resentment that would ultimately betray him, and it's easy to see this as a failure within Garbrandt's own responsibility, but I feel like it's the egos of those around him, Uriah in particular, that fueled this empty bitterness. Uriah pushed previous head coach Justin Buckles to the side in favour of himself to train Cody, and with that fateful choice, Cody would lose that calmness and technicality that had won him the belt in the previous performance against Cruz. Instead, that hot-headedness of Garbrandt that needed to be put on a leash was let loose, allowed to spoil his greatness. For me, the loss to TJ's a simple lesson of betrayal, not only from Cody's team, but also to himself. for allowing himself to get swept up in the drama of other people. I try to imagine a Cody that hadn't wasted all his energy coming after TJ on the show and in press conferences, and it's easy to see a different trajectory for his career. But alas, the calmer and more collected opponent walked away with the crown, leaving Cody with the first loss of his professional career. By the time the second fight rolled around, it was already too late. Cody was now a father, and as new life is brought into the fold, responsibility, goals, dreams, and time all fade into the background as the nurturing and growth of a child takes center stage. And although the birth of a son can reframe ambition, sometimes just being a father is simply more important than being an athlete.
With TJ fighting, my son was 3 months old, so like, dude, for me, I didn't have a father growing up, he was incarcerated, so I didn't want to miss anything. Like, oh shit, I gotta hurry up, rush to the gym. I don't think that I wasn't as focused because I had my, and not to make excuses or sound, like I am, I didn't want to miss anything in his life, so like, alright, fuck, I'm not gonna go to the PT, I'm gonna go train hard, and then like, I felt like just my body, I didn't feel like I got everything I needed out of it. Like, with the Cruz fight, dude, I was just everything, right? We were doing 10 rounds sparring.
Cody's childhood without a father was a past that still haunted him, and so being there for his son, watching him grow, guiding him, and teaching him far away, chasing down championships and training, and that sentiment would physically manifest in the octagon. Focus drifted, priorities shifted, and that unbelievable rise to the top would be rivaled by an uncontrolled freefall to rock bottom. In his next fight after the TJ rivalry, Cody would be knocked out by Pedro Munoz. From there, he would emphatically knock out top contender Rafael Assunção before dropping a decision to Rob Font. He would then drop down to a new weight class and be knocked out by Kai Kara France, meaning that he was now unranked in 2 different divisions, lost, and ever so far away from the title that was once his. I try to remain hopeful in my videos, keeping at bay that bleak and somber shadow seeping in, but this story is more grim, hopeless, and fading than anything. Cody's win over Rafael Assunção was a rose nestled amongst the thorns of a cruel and unforgiving descent. I think that as fans, we often get caught up in just one aspect of a fighter's life, and that is their performances inside of the cage, but it never provides a full picture of everything that's going on. As a slow beat of time continues relentlessly forward, it brings with it changes in emotion, values, responsibility, and dreams. When Cody ripped that belt from Cruz's waist, it signified the end of a long and arduous journey, not only for him, but for his mother, the woman who had wanted a better life for him, his brother who had saved him from the clutches of death itself, and Maddox, who had showed him that there was hope beyond that abyss. And finally, Team Alpha Male, who had been pining for that coveted 5.5 pounds of gold and leather that had eluded them for so long. That fixation on a singular goal and the achievement of it, I feel would have left a sense of what's next. Cody would be caught in a relentless cycle of chasing extrinsic victories that leave such emptiness in the wake of attainment. It's no wonder focus and drive dissipated and left him concerned with other aspects of his life. He'd achieved the impossible. What could ever top that? And it's easy to see why Cody continues on, despite so many setbacks. His purpose beyond the cage is to be that example to his son, to never give up, to continue through the grit, and to crawl through the dirt. And no matter how low and how beaten you are, to shoot for that small chance of greatness, to aim for the unattainable, and with incredible courage, survive the impossible. After all, he knows that pervasive and palpable darkness, there is always hope. Light holds substance, but the empty darkness defines it.
Cody finishes his book with the following paragraph, written before his losing streak. I was right in the middle of working on this book. Danny surprised me with just about the greatest news I'd ever heard. She let me know that we're going to have a baby. Absolutely everything I ever wanted or imagined is true, in ways that are far better than I ever envisioned. God did that. He did all of it. The ups, the downs, every bit of it was exactly what needed to happen in order to get Maddox and me and everyone around us who we love and cherish exactly to the point where we are today. And the best part is, I get it, I see it, and I'm thankful for all of it. That's why I swear that every morning when I wake up, for as long as I live, no matter what happens from here on out, I will continue to thank God for everything. There is a home in Urickville, Ohio, and in one of the rooms, hanging on the wall of a cancer survivor's bedroom, is a poster next to a photo of Cody Garbrandt, and scribbled on it is a phrase that says,
"My last day of chemo. It was tough, but I was tougher. Tough times never last. Tough people do.
TJ had claimed the throne once more, a two-time bantamweight champion, overcoming all odds and roadblocks placed in his way, whether it was the UFC, who gave him the long way round back to the title, or the fans who flip-flopped on detesting him or supporting him, and ultimately his own ex-friends and teammates who turned on him at the behest of a jaded former head coach. TJ was now on track to become the greatest bantamweight the sport had ever known. A handful of wins could separate him in the history books. Dom was still lurking in the background, injured, but still there waiting to come back, and killers were rising through the ranks. But there was an unlikely chance for greatness peeking over the horizon. In the background of all of this, Dana White had been setting his sights on ending the division below Dillashaw's.
So we'll see how this thing plays.